Hello, and welcome to the Dub Talk User Agreement Manual. These simple instructions will help to maximize your podcast listening experience and help you overcome your horny perverted tendencies. And if you're lucky, you may even get a cute robot girlfriend of your own, you lucky dog. Firstly, the following podcast may contain language that is not suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Secondly, there will definitely be spoilers for Chobits, multiple clamp series and any other media being discussed. Be wary if something you haven't finished yet is brought up. Third, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants, and do not necessarily reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. And on a personal note, please remember that love can bloom in the most unpredictable of places, as the heart wants what it wants. But please try not to fall in love with your iPhone, I'm begging you. There is somebody out there for you, you can do much better. With that being said, thank you for listening to this podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
This town is full of people. These people are with it. It wants to be a person, but it is not a person. I know that better than anyone. It is a podcast of people who are not people. People who come together to talk about Japanese cartoons. Japanese cartoons are not people, but in this town, anyone can talk about Japanese cartoons. Are you the listener who is for me? Or are you not the listener who is just for me? Chee!
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 Chee! Chee! Chee!
Oh god, everyone's
Chee?
broken.
Chee! Chee!
We're gonna have to reboot you. Alright, everybody get on over here.
Oh god, no. You ain't touching me.
You are not the one for me, so you may
You are not
come
the-
inside.
God damn it. I was to say,
Look.
Noah, I love you, but not like that.
Despite
That's
them-
Andrew's job.
Yes, it is, and I'm more than happy to let him do that. He can be the one to hack your fireware. I don't want any part of that. He will be the one to take you underwear shopping. That is he's more than earned it by this point.
Underpants. Andrew
Meanwhile, I
likes
got-
underpants.
Oh my god.
I think in this analogy, Hardy would
God
be
damn.
the boss of the bar who lends me his porn. That's the kind of guy he is.
Oh my god.
He's also the guy who
Anyway.
lends you a fucking DVD player that can play MMOs, and I know I'm gonna talk about that later, but what the fuck was that shit about?
Who are we? Why are we here? What's going on, Noah?
I'm glad you asked, because welcome everyone to an extra special episode of Dub Talk, the one and only podcast where a group of internet nerds get together to talk about the English dubs of Japanimation, some old, some new, and some of them with very sentimental reasons. And this is a very special episode because we are continuing our 5-year anniversary shows, where
Happy birthday, Dub Talk!
it's been 5 fun years.
Oh my god.
Man, it feels like just yesterday. So each member of the Dub Talk group gets a chance to pick one show that is very special to them and use that as the basis of an episode. We've gone through Gunsmith Cats, we've gone through Gurren Lagann, we've gone through... What else did we go through?
We did Last Exile, we've done Fooly Cooly. I think that's it right now?
For
yes,
now.
this is the 5th episode.
Yeah,
So,
this one's gonna be number 5.
and clearly, but from looking at the image on your screen and from that opening sentence, you guys clearly know what we're talking about. We're here to talk about... Yes, we're here to talk about Martian Hunter Negusco, the sci-fi epic that...
I gotta say, I thought we were here to talk about Triple X Holic.
Chee?
No one calls it Triple X Holic. This is not a Vin Diesel vehicle.
So it's just Holic?
Yes.
Yeah, they just call it
Legit.
Holic.
Why-
The X's
wha-
are silent.
Because Japan. Anyway.
Sorry. We are here to talk about the 2002 Madhouse adaptation of the Clamp series Chobits.
Chee?
Yes, you will hear Chi a whole lot in tonight's episode. And
Probably
why
from
is
me.
that? I mean, since you're the only girl in the group, I think you have more than enough right to do that.
Chee.
So I assume that I need to tell people what the show is about and
please.
why this is so special. I'll make this brief. So Chobits is set in a kind of a future world where computers, personal computers, have developed beyond just being laptops and desktops. They are actually human-sized. They are humanoid computers that, for lack of a better description, function more like Alexa devices now. You speak to them, they speak back, they can do all sorts of functions, they basically serve every role that you would need in today's society if you've got the money for it. Unfortunately, our lead character, Hideki Motosuwa, is a poor country bumpkin who does not have that kind of money, and he failed into getting into college, so he is going through the grueling task of being a prep school student and a part-time bar worker while trying to make it into school. Luckily, his world is about to turn topsy-turvy because he is lucky enough to find a Persicom abandoned in the garbage, which, finders keepers, takes her home, turns her on through a scene that I will not describe to you because message boards will tell you exactly how he turns her on.
Yes.
Giggity.
Yes! I'm giving Hardy a free pass to make the crude jokes tonight, so go for it, man.
All right.
God damn it. Anyways.
But anyways, so he turns on this new Persicom that he finds, and she's an incredibly cute Persicom. Unfortunately, she can only say chi. She can't perform any of the regular functions that personal computers are supposed to do. She has no hardware installed, and when they try to figure out where she came from or what she is, she tends to crash every other computer that tries to interact with her. So from there, it's kind of a blend between a mystery to try to figure out where chi came from, and simultaneously learning a lot about what human Persicom relationships could be like in the future. So that's the heavier subjects that we're going to talk about when we're not referencing beach episodes, haunted apartment episodes, and the infamous let's go get some underwear episode.
Underpants.
I gotta say, of those
She
three...
has to buy
Underpants, thank you, please.
Underpants, thank you, please.
These are not for you. You are not the one just for me, my underwear.
Pervert. Noah is a pervert. Andrew, no, it's my job tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. And no,
Noah
I can
is
be
a
Samomo. I can be Samomo. It's time for the wakey wakey dance.
Babe, your falsetto, goddamn.
That's very fitting. So, speaking of the Persicoms in the group here, let's talk about who we have. To my right, I have Persicom Andrew.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jesus Christ.
2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. Hello.
I would actually pay for a redub of the show with just Andrew doing all of the women characters.
I would not throw my money at it.
You shouldn't throw your money at it. Hello, I'm happy to be here tonight. We're gonna have a fun time with Ethics 101. I mean Chobits.
God damn it.
Some people have more ethics than others. Speaking
Oh
of ethics,
boy, do they!
Speaking of ethics, we also have Lilac.
Chi.
You have to be the ethical center for us. We have no restraints.
Pervert. Andrew is a pervert.
Hey, that's uncalled for, but it's accurate.
It's so fucking called for. I'm your girlfriend, remember? I can say this.
That is true. You've earned the right.
I've earned the right to call you a pervert. Let it happen.
And to round out this very masculine group, we have Spaceman Hardy.
So, Noah, what was your favorite one of those DVDs I lent you?
You make it sound like you're a dealer all of a sudden.
Well, I gotta tell you, The Hills Have Size is a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, yeah, but hey, it's got nothing on Do You Know the Milfing Man?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, when you start out, when your very first hentai is Sailor Moon and the 7 Balls, it's kind of hard to, find something better than that.
Oh God. What have I gotten myself into right now?
You have, actually, sentimentally enough, you've probably roped yourself into the deepest, most thought-provoking show we will ever talk about on this podcast.
I
call
highly doubt that.
some bullshit, but I at
highly
least see
doubt
your
that.
argument.
I
in
highly
parts
doubt
of
that.
the show. I mean, we'll get to that when we get to it, but yes, for those who only know the show as a fan service romp because they haven't seen the whole thing, we're going to attempt to try to undo that stigma, despite probably not disproving that in the first 15 minutes of this recording.
Probably.
Probably.
So, Noah, quick question for you, because these Dub Talk anniversary episodes are very special, and you said it yourself, that every episode that the hosts pick has a special meaning to them.
They do.
So, real quick, what is Chobits? Why did you pick Chobits? What special meaning does it have to you?
I think I've mentioned before in the podcast that I didn't really start watching anime until college, and the first one I watched was Lucky Star, which we did an episode on last year for my birthday episode. So that one had a deep meaning to me. But Chobits is interesting because it was the first manga that I was ever exposed to. I had a friend in middle school who wasn't exactly a weeb exactly. I mean, he did stay up late and watch Adult Swim anime and introduce me to all the programming that was on that block. And he also had a couple of the first volumes of the Chobits manga. So that, and if you've read the manga, you know that it's got like some Barbie doll nudity to it. And if you're like an impressionable middle schooler who hadn't really been exposed to something like that, it's kind of a bit of a wake-up call. So when I started watching anime, I was thinking like, okay, what other stuff can I dig into? Saw my second anime, which I won't tell you what it was yet. We may say that for a later episode, but let's just say it's very different from Lucky Star. Like, ungodly different. And then the third anime I watched was Chobits. Found out that, yes, there is this got adapted into an anime. Saw it all the way through, and despite, kind of dismissing it as just fun fan service pandering, which I was totally fine with at first, there was a lot to unpack into it that really struck me as a starving college student at the time, because the lead character of Hideki is himself a struggling college student. I think I saw it at just the age where it was most impressionable to me, and we'll talk about more of the themes as we go along, but that really left an impact on me in being surprised by anime, and that's why I just really, really love this show.
Nice. Real quick, and you can cut this out when you edit it. What's your second one that you watched? I'm curious now.
Okay, I will cut this part out because I want that to be a surprise.
Okay.
It was...
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
From Lucky Star to
Chobits.
That was not no one. There was no one to like tell me.
Your neck would
should, like,
snap from that whiplash. Fuck.
It was. So, thank you, Lilac, for setting this up so that we can finally talk about this show.
It actually was not my idea originally to begin with, so I can't take credit for that.
I can thank you because, as I understand, both Andrew and you saw this in full for the first time in preparation for this podcast, right?
That is correct. So previously, I had only seen the first 4 episodes, and then I actually did not get attached to it, and I put it off for a long time. So this is indeed my first time watching it completely, so yeah.
This is absolutely my first time watching it because I really knew nothing about this aside from the fact that I think it's a robot girl or something. And I believe you guys at a convention, I don't remember which one it was, actually having to explain to me what she's on button was. And I was like, fuck you, no way.
I can't remember which con that was either. I remember being in the room, I think, when that conversation occurred, and you flipped your shit.
I was like, no fucking
And by
way.
contrast, Hardy had seen the show before, right?
That is correct. It has been years, though. And so I had to go back through it a second time just to pick up anything that I had missed. But yeah,
okay.
I had actually had the ability to rent this on DVD from a rental store because
Nice.
those were things that used to exist. So,
Hey, it's
Was
still...
it your rental store that you would always talk about to us too? Or?
no, this wasn't the Black Lodge. This was a place called Animax that specifically focused on anime merchandise, and they had a rental DVD rental system.
Nice. God,
Nice.
God, I wish growing up Maine wasn't so frickin' small and we had anime rentals that weren't Dragon Ball Z. Speaking of country bumpkins, hi. Don't you insult Hideki the country bumpkin, because I understand.
I would never say
She
a bad
also
thing
grew
about
up with the
Hideki.
cows.
I grew up with the cows. I've never tended the cows, though.
And now that we're all settled in and have gotten the usual shenanigans out of the way, it's time to talk about the English dub of this.
The usual shenanigans? Noah, it's us. It hasn't even started.
Okay, the lead-in shenanigans. Like, we'll get into, all of the talks about salad tossing and tacos for Jesus after this.
Oh,
Once
God.
the intro section starts up.
Not in front of my salad, Noah.
Well, Chobits was dubbed by Bang Zoom all the way back in the distant year of 2003. So get ready to get your retro gear on, folks, because this is one for the older crowd. And to start off, we're going to talk about the ADR director and the scriptwriter. The ADR director for Chobits was Eric P. Sherman. That's a name that you've probably heard in any of the mid-2000s Los Angeles dubs, because he has quite a bit of a resume. If you've seen Gungrave, if you've seen Heat Guy J, or even a recent episode we covered, Last Exile, then you have seen some of Eric's directing work before. Now, moving on to the script writing portion of it, we have two script writers. I could be wrong, but actually, when I was watching the credits for the show, I only saw one name pop up, but according to A&N, there's actually, they both shared credits on this. The first one was Fred Kennemer. Fred has a small but respectable list of writing credits, such as for Heat Guy J, Marmalade Boy, and tell me, is it pronounced Scride or is it
Scride?
It is Scride. Okay.
I call it Escride. That's how I name it, but
I think it's Scride.
It's probably Scride, and I'm probably wrong, but I always refer to it as Escride.
And some people call it Escried, so those people are probably wrong also.
Yeah, that's also true.
Anime names are dumb, okay?
Not as weird as that one name that's going around. It's like AEX12.
Oh yeah, Elon Musk's son, I think.
There you go.
Oh my God, did he really?
Oh my God, you didn't hear about that? Oh, it's so
I heard he had a kid. I didn't hear about the kid's name.
It is.
We'll tell you later.
It's
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And also for writing portions, we also have Michael McConaughey. Not that McConaughey, but it's I believe it's pronounced McConaughey. If I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, please tell me, Michael. Who has done script writing on shows like the 2016 Berserk series, some parts of Digimon Adventure, and one show that Hardy holds very close proximity, Mars Daybreak.
Oh yes, the Rocket Punch Dolphin.
That's the
What?
one. I only know of Mars Daybreak because of, is it Poipoter? Is that how you pronounce it? There you go.
Poipoter. And
What the
here's
fuck is a Mars Daybreak?
You remember Hardy's?
And what is this about a dolphin?
You remember Hardy's dolphin avatar?
Oh,
that's
it?
yeah.
Okay.
The dolphin in the robot suit. And here's the funny
Got
thing.
it.
Mike actually voices Poipoter too.
Woo!
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Bring it around
That's
full
funny,
circle.
actually.
That's funny.
Yeah, Michael's also done quite a bit of voice acting, but also pretty prominent on the script writing side. And so, let me pass it on to the dolphin in the robot suit. Tell us about this show and the direction and writing, Hardy.
Well, you can definitely tell it is from the early 2000s. There are quite a few hits, quite a few misses. I think in general, it's still a very listenable dub. But you can tell that there's certain parts that I think might have been either intentionally or unintentionally overacted, if that makes sense.
I mean, for just from certain characters, or like every character gets an overacting line?
In general, I think there's a sort of exuberance that permeates dubs from that era, and especially for comedy dubs such as this. And sometimes it works to its detriment. I didn't have any problems with the writing per se because, well, there are parts that I had issues with, especially when she has to basically speaks to herself 90% of the time in the third person. And that can be a bit grating at times. I don't know if that was in the original Japanese as well. It would make sense. And it does kind of make sense because she is a robot. But,
it
yeah.
was in the original sub.
Okay.
From what I understand, they didn't take too many liberties. So if that bugged you in the English, then you can blame the Japanese for that.
Blame the show itself.
That makes That makes sense, yeah. Other than that, I didn't really have any major problems with the script. I think some of the technobabble could get a bit confusing, but it's for a show of its nature, it's fitting. I really, other than a few performances, I really didn't notice anything glaring and obnoxious. So it's a solid effort all around for a 2002 dub.
Yeah, glad you prefaced it by saying that's the time period it came out, because I think for the time period it came out, it was head and shoulders above what we were used to.
Outside of
Right.
Yeah. Outside of the obvious fact that the dub might be a little bit aged, the show also shows a little bit of age by being the Jetsons' future, where basically it is still the future, but it's a future where cathode tube TVs exist.
Yes, where you plug your super high-tech
Your VGA cables.
your Android supercomputer into a cathode ray tube television using AV cables.
And with a camera, a video chat option included.
Yes,
I love
that, and the whole part where you can play video games on your DVD player.
Oh, I call so much fucking bullshit.
But
on
you
that.
can't. But you can't talk to someone on the phone because they're using dial-up.
Yep.
Can you tell when this was written, people?
It's been a minute. Anyways, yeah, I just had to say that.
Andrew, you were a babby when shit like this was going on. What the fuck do you know?
Do you even remember dial-up?
Oh my god.
I don't think he does.
I mean, and I'm not just talking about references on micro slides. I'm talking about, like, actually having to live it.
There was a time period you could not talk on the phone and use the computer
Yeah.
at the same time.
Not
unless you had a cell
I got
phone.
my butt kicked off of the internet so many times for that.
Oh,
And it wasn't
yeah.
even that long ago. It was, like, 15 years ago.
Well, a little more than that.
It's been about 20.
I feel like
A little
when I
over 20.
actively started using the computer, I think that was possibly when dial-up stopped being like a thing.
So
it
you
makes
hit the
sense
sweet
because
spot.
I remember when I was like maybe 7-8 years old. I remember the oldest of old school Mac Windows computers in our computer lab, and they were just like the most like basic
words.
of shit.
2 words. Floppy disks.
I remember
Yes.
floppy disk.
Those did not
man.
go away for a while. It wasn't until
Those
the first...
those stayed for a little while.
It
Yeah.
had a whopping 1.98 megabytes on it.
Oh my god.
So
I am
big.
holding in my hand a...
We're living in the future.
I am holding in my hand a 32 gigabyte... God, what's this thing called?
A cell phone?
Thumb
No,
drive?
it's... Thumb drive, thank you. I was
welcome.
blanking on the term. I was going to say
I'm just
external
taking a
hard drive.
guess.
That's not it. Yeah, I'm holding a 32 gig thumb drive in my hand that is about the size of an eraser.
Yep.
I have a feeling I'm gonna call you a boomer at some point tonight, Noah.
And we'll probably end up calling you a goddamn millennial, but you know.
Alright, anyways.
Because we're the old folks. It's like, yeah, back in my day, we didn't have those convoluting thumb drives or your Wi-Fi's. We had the good old dial-up.
Okay.
And we had to wait for an hour before we can get off the computer and use the phone again.
The part of Lilac will be performed by Carol Channing for the remainder of this episode.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What are we talking about right now?
Carol, tell us about what you think of the dub. And do it in song.
In song, yes. Well, so I mentioned this earlier, but there's a reason why I didn't get past episode 4 and probably the many times I attempted to watch Chobits. I never really got attached to the show, in all honesty. I will admit that right now. It took a very long time for me to even get into the show, and even then, it was just okay. But in terms of the dub, oh man, I don't think this one has aged very well. I personally don't think it has. Not extremely well. Part of that is because of the writing, but that's more because of the terminology and the things that were used, like the old school tech and everything like that, but that's not the fault of the dub, that's the fault of the show itself. And obviously I think that kind of dated it a little bit, like using dial-up and hooking up your DVD player with VGA cables and all
That was
this
never
fun
a
stuff.
thing.
Yeah, still.
You want to know one like really old relic that kind of I don't think it's more clear in the manga than it is in the anime. One
Okay.
thing that we don't have anymore, we don't have screensavers anymore.
That's
You know
true.
that the thing that Sumomo does where she's dancing when she's on standby mode?
That's her
Yeah.
screensaver.
That's
really
supposed
what
to be
it is.
screensaver.
Oh, that's what that is.
Basically what that is. You're right.
You see, kids, back in the day, we had these things called screensavers.
I remember
where
They showed
Screensavers.
flying toasters.
they showed these visuals and the maze and the bouncing cube rainbow to try to prevent you from crashing.
the flying words that say Windows 98.
Look, I too have had the anxiety of trying to watch the screensaver thing hit the corner of the monitor. I've had that experience.
It happened in an episode of The Office.
Apparently
We've all
you're not.
experienced
Apparently
it.
you're not that much of a baby. Oh shit.
They don't have that anymore.
But anyway, I think some of the terminology did date the show itself, but that's more on the fault of the show and not necessarily the dub. There were, unfortunately, in terms of the dub, this is a early 2000s dub. This is an early 2000s dub. You're not gonna get the most fantastic quality, in my opinion. There are some fun performances, don't get me wrong. There are some fun, fantastic performances from people you would never expect. Hideki. But there are some performances that I felt were kind of stilted or stiff. Especially very much in the first half of the show. By the second half, like, some people were growing into it a bit more. But it's something that I had a hard time getting over for a while. So for what it is in the early 2000s for being a dub, I think it's fine. It is serviceable. But the content of the show itself doesn't help in terms of making it age gracefully. And some of the performances I think were a little stilted to me for me to really like get attached to it.
Even in the main cast?
A little
Like, so-
bit.
'Cause I can understand if it was like some of the more minor characters, but if it's the main cast, that's
A
interesting.
little bit to an extent, not a lot. Probably my favorite performance. Oh, I will actually admit there were a few times for Hideki actually that I felt a little odd about it. I'm not gonna lie. And when we talk about Hideki, it's a surprise that I say that.
It is.
But I think the only character that I think I was actually fine with consistently was actually Shinbo. Shinbo, I think, was the only one consistently I was okay with. Everybody else had, like, their ups and downs with the whole course of it. Granted, Hideki's a goddamn spaz. But,
That's... And it's also a bit...
Understand.
It's different than the Japanese, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
No, yeah, but I personally, like, it's a serviceable dub. Your mileage is going to vary, but for me, it's just okay.
Okay. Okay, so that's Grandma here. Millennial, what do you
Where's
think?
my teeth?
This was a very surreal experience because I kind of accepted the fact that, like, going into older dubs, I'm not expecting, like, crisp, clean quality, what I expect nowadays, but it's just like, you know what? It's kind of interesting going back to one of these projects from the early 2000s and getting to watch it with a 2020 vision, so to speak.
Oh, Jesus Christ, why?
Anyways, it's just... I actually did enjoy a lot of the performances. Some of them, you can definitely tell some of these people were definitely a little greener back then than they are now. But it was kind of interesting getting to hear some of that perspectives. And hearing at least one or two actors play characters, I really do not ever get to hear them play, so to speak. But
Hideki.
Hideki. I was trying to be subtle, but...
I already said it. Hideki.
Well, it's Hideki. But yeah, there's a couple of actors and actresses where it's like, I'm very familiar with their line of work, And it's just like, oh, hey, it's good to see you. You've been around probably, like, I think somebody brought up at least one or two of these actors have probably been in this business longer than I've been alive.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, accurate statement.
Like, that's
Actually,
a surreal feeling, yeah.
A good handful of these. Like, one character in particular is playing a high school student, was pushing 40 when they recorded this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, crazy times. But no, I enjoyed the cast of this. It was a very interesting ensemble, but outside of, like, one or two characters and performances, I wasn't too bothered by anybody in the cast. The script is pretty good. It didn't feel like they took too many crazy liberties. This felt like, I feel like I've never seen the original, but it felt like it would have been relatively close to the Japanese, even with some weird terminologies. I think the only time I ever felt it got a little weird is when they're going into the storybook sections and they have to refer to it and this person. And it's like, I get what they're trying to go toward. They're trying to go for the bit of subtlety and ambiguity, but it's the only time I ever felt it was a little awkward script-wise, but I think everybody sounds pretty good. The script is kind of interesting. I wasn't upset by the old terminology. I just thought it was really funny, but...
Oh, I think it's funny too, but it just doesn't age it very well either.
Oh, I think that's what makes it charming, though. I feel the rust is kind of what makes it unique.
Fair. That's fair.
I'm glad you feel that way, because I have the nostalgia goggles on this show that's killing all oxygen to my brain, so I can't view the terminology as anything more than just a product of its time. It's not, they weren't trying to be futuristic. Going backwards from when one character was born, like their birth year is given, to how old they are in the show. The show is supposed to take place in the early 2000s, which is when the manga was originally written.
Okay, so it's basically like that one episode of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, where Mr. Jets is just like, we hail from the year 2002, and he looks at his calendar and says 2004. That's basically what it feels like.
Yep, so if that's a roadblock to anyone about the dated technology, just, again, view it as, well, this is what we thought of technology back in 2001.
Also, before I give you the mic, all I want to say is, look, we live in the future where game consoles are now also DVD players, but you can't have a DVD player that is also a game console. Like, here's the thing. Its default function is that it's a DVD player, and it's playing a fucking MMORPG. Game consoles have certain tech that is designated to play this shit. Like, GameCubes could play, like, MMORPGs like Phantasy Star. That's the infamous ASE2 controller. That's a thing. But it's like, a strict DVD player that also plays games would be simple as hell in the year 2000. I don't get it.
No, we need to stop him before he goes on a tangent for another 15 minutes, because he probably will.
I want you to know I'm done already, so continue.
I'm just going to kill your tangent with 2 words. Dragon's Lair. Moving on. So, some people will get that reference. So, okay, so we have a bit of a split on the reception of this, and it's interesting that it's coming from, 3 different perspectives on who saw the show when. I want to say this right now. This show is incredibly sincere. The dialogue and especially the picture book sections of it are super sincere. It kind of clashes with our 90s sensibility of the decade before, with the irony or the post-irony or isn't it ironic, don't you think kind of mentality. Having a show like this where people are very vulnerable in their feelings of love, their sentimentality towards things that they probably shouldn't be sentimental towards, that's the kind of dialogue that I think sounds uncomfortable in English. I mean, it probably sounded uncomfortable in Japanese too, but you're allowed to give it a little leeway just because, well, you're reading it, you're not exactly listening to it. So you kind of accept it like you would a book. When you hear dialogue like, are you the one who is for me? Are you the one who is not for me? That just sounds super cheesy. And it could have absolutely destroyed this if they didn't play it 100% straight. Which they do. I would give full credit. Even though there are flat performances, and we will talk about those characters and those voice actors, the sincerity in this shines through entirely. There is not one there's one character that is designed to be sarcastic, but other than that, most of the dialogue is absolutely straightforward, and that's from both the script writing and the direction. So I hold it no ire, especially because this is head and shoulders above what most dubbing studios were doing in the time period. Like, we could compare this to just a couple of years before. We had another Clamp anime. We had Magic Knight Rayearth. That English dub was designed for a television broadcast and sounds absolutely archaic by today's standards. And then just a few years later, some of the same actresses would show up in this show and sound 1,000 times better. So I want to commend the show for doing a lot right. And with that, I believe we have covered the direction and the script writing.
Sounds about right. Let's move along.
So, all right, let's boot up into the next level.
Oh, sweet lord. We're gonna have computer puns all night, aren't we?
I'm not a Java script writer, so someone else write wittier jokes than me in the comment section.
I'm gonna shove a Clippy in your fucking face at this rate.
Oh.
Shit.
Don't bring that evil into my house, Bobby Boucher. We burned that. We burned that back in 2005.
Oh god.
So,
This is gonna be a night.
I hope so. I really hope so. So, going into the cast here, we're basically going to break this cast down into characters who are paired with each other in the show. So the first pair we're going to talk about are a baker and the pub owner's daughter. We are going to talk about Yumi, and we're going to talk about Ueda. Yumi is the daughter of the pub owner, where Hideki ends up working to pay for living, and she basically acts as a potential suitor for Hideki throughout the first half of the show, but when we find out that she's got some baggage related to this character, Ueda, who is not only a baker, but also owns T-Roll, which is the bakery where Chi ends up working throughout the show. And near the end of the show, well, we'll get into it, I suppose, when we talk about it, but basically, Ueda has a history with Persicoms that would probably be a little taboo in today's society. I mean, let's be honest, it was taboo in the show itself. But, we're here for the long haul. We're going to talk about human-computer relationships. Isn't dub talk fun?
You know what else is also taboo?
What?
Romantic relationships with a high schooler.
Yeah, that they kind of sweep that under the rug.
They sweep that hard.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I'm watching this like, wait, this guy is older, he's been married, he owns a business, and he's hitting on a high school freshman?
I don't know. Okay. I
don't think she's a freshman.
I'm at least willing to wager.
At the time period, when they first met, I don't know how old she was at.
Okay, when they first met, I can see it. But anyways.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's kind of taboo. What's not taboo is casting legendary performers for these. So in the English dub, Yumi is voiced by Julie Madalena. That's a character. Julie has been around for quite a while. If you've seen Love Hina, you've heard her as Sarah. If you've seen the Blackjack OVA, she plays Pinako. And if you've seen Magic Knight Rayearth, you have heard her as Hikaru, the lead fire-wielding member of the team, which is, to me, is her most iconic performance. And Ueda is voiced by a name that you may have heard if you've watched a handful of dubs from Los Angeles from this time period, is voiced by David Lucas. David Lucas has been in a couple of things that you may have heard of. He was Char Aznable in the Mobile Suit Gundam movie. He was Great Teacher Onizuka in Great Teacher Onizuka. And he also happened to voice a little upstart character named Spike Spiegel in this independent production called Cowboy Bebop. So just one or two things you may have heard of him before.
Bang.
You guys see that Real Folk Blues video?
Sure.
Yes!
Let us gush about that. That was so cool.
We got there's a lot to talk about tonight. I'm just gonna say that was amazing, and that man looks amazing for 60. Holy shit!
That he does. I wish I looked that good at 60. I wish I looked that good now.
You don't look that good now.
I don't know. I can't grow a beard. Stop picking on me, you bearded bastard. You facial furred motherfucker! It is not fair that you got the good genes in that department. No, I will not let this man off the hook.
I got bored one day and I decided to go for a goatee.
Speaking of a goat, Hardy.
Yes.
Transition.
I am in this episode, aren't I?
So you've heard Julie and David and stuff before. How'd they do in this show?
Well, David doesn't really have as many lines, and he kind of sort of shows up near the second half, really. But it's hard to, if he doesn't have one heck of a story arc, boy howdy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and this is kind of, because I've heard this actor in a lot of different roles, a lot of really iconic roles, and it's very rare that you hear him speak as at this pitch, like, because he's always been known for like this, really laid back, deep voice, and now he's talking like this, and it's sort of off-putting. And
you think it's off-putting?
Well, I mean, if you've been familiar with this actor's roles previously, then this is completely different from what you're usually used to.
It is, yes. I mean, I'd call it refreshingly different to hear him in a different kind of role.
Yeah, but I mean, he's one of the few characters who doesn't get spastic and or lose his mind like Hideki and Shibo do. But it's just he's just sort of there, if I have to say it. But it works. Julie Madalena, I am not as familiar with. I haven't watched as many shows that she's been in. This is probably the one role, because I didn't watch Ray Earth, that I would most quickly assign to her if I hear her name. Mm-hmm. This is the one I'm most familiar with. And not having much experience with other shows that she's been in, I'd have to say it's fine. Yumi is kind of a little troll, but then she also has her very emotional moments as well. And I think she's able to play them pretty well. It's one of the more, how do I put this? It's not one of, I wouldn't say one of the more stand-out performances. It's one of the most...
Consistent?
What's the word? Yes, most consistent.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Throughout the entire production. So
I mean, it kind of helps that she maintains that consistency, because for some reason, she kind of disappears off the show near the middle of it and doesn't pop back up until the final couple of episodes. Mm-hmm. So she didn't really have like as much dialogue to, break that consistency near the middle.
Right. Yeah. But she's the first to let you know that she's a D cup. So.
Okay,
Fun fact about that. Fun fact about that. So you watch it in dub, and she says flat out, "Hey, you're staring at my chest. Oh, by the way, I'm a D cup." You were staring at them. I thought you'd like to know. In the Japanese, she says they're E cups, because the Japanese has a different cup size system compared to the Americans. But they felt the need to specify.
You would know. You would have.
Because I watched it in sub. Like, if you turn on the subtitles, they say E cup at the bottom of the screen.
Kind of sounds like you're comparing apples to oranges here.
Boo.
Or should I say melons to grapefruits? Da-ba-ba-da-ba.
You know what, Andrew? I would like to hear about your melons, actually. What's your reaction to Julie and David?
So, I will say, I really don't think I've ever actually heard a consistent role for, like, Julie Madalena before this. But I actually thought she was a really great performance in this dub. I actually thought she was a ton of fun. Her character is very fun. She's very cute. She is a nice troll and is pretty interesting. Yeah. I could tell she had some sort of Persicom related story arc coming from the beginning. I just wasn't quite sure how it was going to be a thing in the end, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. But no, I thought Julie was a ton of fun. I think she's very quirky and cute, sometimes a little bit sexy even, especially when it comes to Hideki's weird wet dreams. But no, I thought Julie was great. David, he's I don't get to hear too much of him, but he's very soft-spoken, kind of. It's a very quiet performance from this particular actor, who I am literally trying my damnedest not to break the alias for the sake of this episode, but...
Be a good boy and you'll get chocolate at the end of this.
Okay, chocolate's good.
We're gonna respect the alias and credit them by the alias. Thank you.
Okay.
We will respect
I will
the
say,
rules.
they do a pretty good job with being a kind of quiet, soft-spoken guy. Like, the manager is a seemingly alright dude. He's a chill dude. He's a little weird. And by a little weird, I mean you could probably teach an entire ethics lesson on him alone.
I mean, where is the ethical corruption of saying, you know what? I'm really into my MacBook Pro. I'm gonna put a ring on it.
Here's the thing that I think surprises me a little bit about this show. He does not seem like he would be the first guy to marry his Persicom.
Oh, heck no.
I don't buy that he was the first. I maybe buy that he was the first one to be so sincere about the romance and the ceremony. Like...
But considering that we live in a world where grown men try to marry their body pillows.
And their waifus. Like this is not... I don't even think in the early 2000s this was that new of a concept.
No.
Then you should have put a ring on it, and he did, so...
Here's the thing. I think it ultimately comes down to the fact that, like, yes, there's a little more of a romantic affection there going on, that he genuinely did feel a connection with her. I'll say this. I thought it was a little weird, but I actually did think the relationship with his robot wife was actually pretty cute, and I sure as shit was not expecting the dementia allegory that was losing her mind.
The heartbreaking part of that was not even like the voice acting. It was when he booted her back up, you can hear her memory just crying because it's spinning so fast it's starting to break down. That was very sad to listen to.
That was actually hard to watch. I was like, oh, this is straight up dementia allegory for the cute robot wife. Oh man, this is making me feel things.
And this is what happens when you go bargain bin hunting, people.
I'll say this. I think it's pretty cute. I think David does a very good job. I think it's very interesting. I think his arc is kind of weird, and I think they maybe play it a little too clean. Just on the grounds that you are in love with a robot woman and also with a high school girl who also happens to be named Yumi. What the fuck are the odds of that? And I think he's an alright... I think he's not... He didn't impress me, but I think he does a good job. He does a good job.
Good deal. So, with that being said, Lilac, what you said?
Oh, where do I even start? So, I actually think this is the first time I've ever heard Julie Mandalena in anything. As a good amount of these performances to me, are kind of rough and can be stiff at times. Julie, I think, at first ended up as one of those performances. Yumi to me just seemed kind of stilted at points, and maybe a little bit over-exaggerating some moments or lines. Later on, it eventually, got its footing in, and did portray her character as this youthful energy, this sweet girl, but it was very... Unfortunately to me, though, it was kind of rough through a good chunk of it, and it was only until the last, maybe third or so, where it kind of really hit a bit more. And then as for David Lucas, it's funny that the topic of dementia has come up, and that dementia is a thing, because I know the three of you know about this already, and I think the last time I even talked about it on a podcast, I think Andrew and Noah were there because it was Violet Evergarden.
Oh yeah.
So For those of you who don't know, who are new here, my grandfather actually has dementia, and he was diagnosed with it a few years ago, and then last summer, unfortunately, he kept getting hospitalized to the point where eventually the doctors wouldn't let him go home, so they put him in a veterans home in a dementia ward. So seeing this story and this backstory of Ueda and his Persicom wife, just weirdly enough, like, just somehow hit harder than I anticipated. I mean, I didn't flat out cry, but like I could relate to that quite a bit, and how David was able to portray that, I think, was very well done. And I didn't think I was going to relate to Persicom dementia in an anime, all this like robotic dementia, but like
it's not really what you peg the show for when you start out, is it?
No, not even. And considering this was in like the back half of the show, or I think like the last third, pretty much.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it's like half. No, it's like the 1/3 mark in the show is when things started to get serious, and then yeah, you're right. In the second third of it.
In the last third, like the last third of it, it was just like, this is not expected, and for a character who is just like, oh, I'm just a bakery owner. I'm a bakery owner. I'm a nice guy. Here's your job, have your pay for the day, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I was married to my Persicom once. It was pretty rough. I had a hard time attaching myself to some of these characters. But David Lucas, like, good on you, being able to portray a man who has a loved one with basically with dementia. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. Good on you for making that very relatable, considering, personally, the situation I'm in right now. By the way, when we're talking about David Lucas in this situation, pseudonyms or aliases are a thing. We are going to be respectful of that and do the voice, talk about the person as credited. So before y'all go in the comments and like, that's not his name, shut up.
No, yes.
Like, shut up.
You're all very good sleuths.
That's his name right now, so shush.
There's a reason for this, guys. Like, if you be respectful to the actors, you're good sleuths and detectives, but be respectful, please.
Yes. We're just giving the correct credit for the actors. So. Yeah. But we all know who this is, let's face it. We all know who this is. But his name is David today.
Today, yes.
Today his name is David.
It's interesting you guys were like talking about Julie being consistent throughout, because she kind of has a dichotomous task to play, because she's got to be like super perky and super happy and super, well, it'd be a real shame if my breasts were cold and hard near the first half of the show.
God,
I love that line. But then near the second half, she has to have the very believable breakdown about essentially an inferiority complex, you know, being Persicoms are perfect. Persicoms are better than people. And with that, I'd like to break out this guitar and play the song. Robots are better than people.
What the fuck?
The end.
That's it?
You haven't seen Frozen?
No.
Oh, there's a song called Reindeer Are Better Than People.
Oh, okay.
When you're the only person in this call to have seen the Disney movie, Noah, I think you fucked up.
That is pretty bad. But what I was going to say is that Julie's kind of... I don't quite buy the more emotional breakdown portions near the end. Like, not as much as the chipper, happier portions of it near the first part of it. But it's still, it hits, like you were saying, it hits the parts where it has to, especially at that part of the show, because that's right before the big climax of the show's finale. And I don't have anything else to add about David, because you guys pretty much hit all the nails on the head with that one. I'm surprised that we actually haven't heard him do more soft voices like this. Because I know he has range, we mostly hear him in the badass voices, so it's nice to hear him in something a little softer in this. But that covers one portion of the show's conflicts. Let's move on to another one of those conflicts, because we're about to talk about even more computers and even more wives, too. We're just going to have one wife in each category here, actually.
Oh, Lord almighty.
But no, it's okay. This one's a human wife, so it's okay.
Still, Lord almighty. Anyway.
The next group we're going to talk about is one landlady, one computer hacker, and one tsundere persicom. This will be fun. So, we're going to talk about Chitose Hibiya. So, Hideki, the main character of Hideki, lives in an apartment because when you're broke and in prep school, that's all you can afford. And she's basically the perky, upbeat, always sweeping with a broom manager of the apartment. Way nicer than any landlord I have ever seen before. I think she may be putting on an act.
Maybe.
We'll see. We also have Yoshiyuki Kojima, aka Dragonfly, is this creepy 4chan stalking badass who basically kidnaps Chi near the end of the show. And the only reason one of the reasons we're talking about him is because he is our segue into talking about Kotoko. Persicoms in this world a lot of them are human-sized, but a couple of them are supposed to be desktop computers in that they're smaller, they're mobile, they're kind of like what we have for cell phones nowadays. Kotoko is one of those. She's this pigtailed, bells and hair wearing tsundere persicom that belongs to Dragonfly and kind of gets adopted into the main cast after the events of that kidnapping happen.
They literally steal her away from him.
Oh, no, he gave them permission.
Okay.
He quote-unquote gave permission.
In word only.
After Hideki beat his nerd ass.
As he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So he did deserve it.
Chitose is voiced by Ellen Wilkinson, who has been around a long time in the voice acting circuit. And how long? You've heard her in Haruhi Suzumiya as Asakura. You've heard her in Please Twins as Mizuho. And bring it right back around to Magic Knight Rayearth. She's another one of the Magic Knights. She is actually Fu, the green-haired, wind-wielding members of the Magic Knights in that show. Let's see. Kojima is voiced by Terrence Stone. He is been in quite... I picked a couple of random shows. Some of them just happened to be Clamp adaptations by complete chance. He was Kakiyo in X, a show that I own but haven't seen yet. He was Mayuri in Bleach, and he plays... For some reason... Go ahead.
That's Mayuri?
Yep, Mayuri Kurosuchi.
Oh my god, he is a fucking creepy scientist guy. Fuck.
God damn it.
Please tell me that's actually his role in Bleach, and you're not
just
making it up. Okay,
I'm not making it up. That's exactly what he is. That character sucks. It is amazing that he is a good guy.
He's actually to bring it around to one good character. He plays the kind of one of the male leads, Fario in Magic Knight Rayearth, who is the only good male character in that show, and also has a big crush on Fu. You can tell because they're color coordinated. But the one other character we're talking about as Kotoko is played by none other than Kei Jensen. And what have you heard Kei Jensen in before? I mean, you've heard that voice in the very popular show A Little Snow Fairy Sugar as Cinnamon. I actually have not seen that show yet. She plays Shinomi in Mao-chan, and she plays Chiaka in Ayori Ayoshi. I have not seen any of the shows that I just listed.
Okay.
Hardy, have you seen any of these shows?
No, actually.
Well, have you seen Chobits?
I have seen Chobits.
Oh, perfect!
Oh, cool! I like Chobits too.
Yes.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, okay. Starting off with Hibiya. Or am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's Hibiya.
Hibiya, yes.
The one thing I will say that the English dub does get most of the Japanese pronunciations correct.
Except for with Hideki, where sometimes you'll hear a Hideki slip in. But anyways. Starting off with Hibiya. I've heard this actress in other shows before, and I'm sort of hit or miss with her because she's always sounds like she's breathless, and that's just a natural part of her voice. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think in the particular case of Miss Hebia, I think it does work. And you don't really notice the breathiness of this actress as much in this role. And she makes her sound very, very sweet, very genuine, very maternal. And I think she does a fine job. With Terrence Stone, he's not really in the show all that much, and so I can't really make a connection with him. I didn't have any problems with the performance, but then again, as I was watching through, I wasn't paying full attention, and so if there were any noticeable flaws, I didn't pick up on them.
Now, I have to, in that regards, did any time that the show dipped into technobabble, did that tend to make you start paying attention less?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a character who is all about
because this was my rewatch. I was doing a lot of work on my computer as it was playing in the background, and so I picked up on most things, but there could have been some problems that slipped past me that I didn't notice. As far as Terrence Stone goes, I didn't notice anything. And now let's talk about Kotoko, that little bitch.
Hey, Kotoko is a good, sweet, honest girl.
She is a good, sweet...
Honest.
Yes.
I didn't say... Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being honest.
She's honest, but she's blunt as hell, and she'll let you know about it. Especially with the other pocket-sized Persicom, which she thinks is completely stupid and useless, and they don't get along at all. But I think that's part of the... I love their dynamicism. I wish the whole show was just that.
Yeah, the whole show needed to be Chobits.
I am legitimately surprised that did not get turned into like some kind of spin-off, like beyond just the 5-minute OVA we got.
Right. But anyways, no, I think Kay plays Kotoko very well. She gets her snarkiness, she gets her, bluntness down, and I think it's just adorable. Regardless of whether you like Kotoko as a character because she is so blunt, I think Kay did a really good job.
I'm going to take the microphone on this one because... I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Andrew?
I was just going to say, she's not bad, she's just programmed that way.
The characters don't... the show makes great pains to express that most of the Persicoms don't have AI, so they're just responding to their programming. That being said, if this is what their owners wanted them to act like, these owners have some messed up personal issues.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, the group who wrote this show were very optimistic about what society would do with technology in the future. Speaking of that future, though, let's talk about Terrence Stone at first, because I want to get those notes out of the way first. I think he's probably the weakest performer in the cast. And the reason is, it's not just because he's not in the show as much as some of your characters. Like, he shows up in episode 18. Actually, no. He first premieres as one of the characters in the MMO episode, which you can totally skip, because that's one of the 3 episodes that you don't need to watch for any plot-related reasons. But he actually shows up. He's really dry, and he's really flat. I mean, I get that they're trying to have him play a kind of a mysterious character without making him sound so evil. I love stripping down my Persicoms for evil. No, they want to give him a flatter, drier, mysterious voice, and it's just not as engaging as I think it should be. So that's the weakest side I have to say with it. Maybe it was just because that's how it was written in the Japanese, but it's kind of a shame that we couldn't have got something a little more sinister out of it than we did. On the flip side, though, the complete opposite of sinister, while still being mysterious, Ellen is really good in this. There's this light, delicate nature to her that hides her actual backstory, which, we might as well spoil right here. She was actually a computer genius. She is a computer genius, and is actually one of the people who has a connection with Chi from her before time, from before Hideki found her. There is a lot of parts in the show where I think Ellen had to kind of convey her natural sweetness, like you were saying, Hardy, while still kind of hiding the fact that she knows secrets. And Ellen did that really well without sounding too melodramatic, especially in some of the final episodes where she's basically explaining the mystery to us, which we'll get to as we get later on down the road. And I don't have any other qualms to say. I don't have anything bad to say about Kay Jensen. Like, I pretty much fully agree with what Hardy said. God, she is so cute. Yes, I would take the Tsundere Persicom if given the option. I have issues. Fight me. Lilac, do you have issues?
Who doesn't?
Okay.
Oh, you mean issues with the dub, not personal. Okay.
No. Well, maybe we can talk about the personal issues later. I do charge by the hour for therapy.
Good. I need therapy. I deal with this goober over here every day, so I need therapy for that. No, I'm kidding.
You want Andrew therapy? That's gonna cost you extra.
Ah, damn it! I shouldn't have said anything. Oh boy. So I'm gonna say this for Hibiya and Kotoko. Aliases are a thing that exist. Gonna do my best here. So with Kotoko, snarky, sassy, and tsundere is an accurate description. But Kotoko isn't really there a ton compared to everybody else, so it's really hard to... Kotoko and Kojima aren't exactly there. Kotoko has more to do than Kojima. Kojima has almost, like, nothing to do in this show, aside from being an asshole. That's his job, being an asshole. Yeah. Being an asshole and possibly a slight pervert, I guess. Oh, no.
I mean, considering, like, again, we talked about this earlier, but considering how sexualized the Persicoms are, I'm surprised there aren't more perverted characters in this show. There's this guy, and then there's the peep show manager, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, the peep show manager. Ooh, let's not get started on that one. Yeah. No, but Kojima has like 20 custom Persicoms, and it's like, are you okay, bud? I guess I can understand, like, Minoru having like five custom Persicoms, and they're dressed as maids. Sure, he's a young, like, boy genius, but, like, they're not too crazy with it. This man has 20 goddamn Persicoms stuffed in a room in the dark. No, but I think I think out of all the performances in the entire dub itself, this is the roughest one. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I was saying that about Julie Mandalena and Yumi, but oh, sweet baby Jesus. Listening to Terrence be a slimy, creepy guy was still very rough to me.
Like, you would think,
and it didn't get any better.
Like, you would kind of think that, like, maybe he'd have some fun, like, playing up the slimy aspects of it, but yeah,
I don't even think playing it up would have saved it.
No?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think so.
All right.
Playing it up, I don't think would have saved it.
Alright.
I mean, I just think it wasn't that great overall. And then for Kotoko and Miss Kay Jensen, alias again, before people go mad again, little tsundere Persicom Kay Jensen. She was adorable and snarky, and she's just not taking any of crap. Who is it? Sumomo's shit. She's not taking any of Sumomo's shit. Like, oop, I just hit my mic with my notebook. Great. She's not taking any Sumomo's shit. Like, after she gets unceremoniously adopted by fucking Hideki. Like, every like, the wakey exercises, she's looking like, what kind of bullshit is this?
Which is weird.
What?
It's weird because with growing up with Kojima, you would think that she'd already be used to, you know, weird perscom owners, but this is what tips into her. This is weird scale.
It's not even a perscom owner, it's just a perscom in general, and because Sumomo's not even Hideki's to begin with. Like, it's just kind of funny like that. But she's not taking shit from anyone, just like, this is weird. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's trope.
It's kind of adorable.
It's adorable. It's tropey, but you're right, dang it. It's adorable. I would have perfectly loved a full spin-off show, like, or a web show that was just those two getting into wacky situations.
Oh my god. Admittedly, I would probably watch that too. Because it does sound like a lot of fun.
I just thought of something. Okay, you've seen Panty and Stocking, right?
Of course I have.
So imagine that kind of,
that kind of premise,
yeah, that
maybe?
genre hopping premise. Not that filthy exactly, but like they're basically the same characters. Like, you know, Sumomo is peppy and perky like Panty, and Kotoko is all gloomy tsundere like Stocking.
I see it. I see it. I see where you're going with it.
Yes.
And then joining them on some hijinks.
Absolutely. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Wait, would that make Hideki brief?
No. No. I don't.
No, he would be.
I don't see it. And I don't see him as Garter Belt either.
Heck.
He's definitely not Garter
Oh,
Belt.
God, who would be? You know what? We'll decide this later. No, I got it. Minoru would be Garter Belt.
Oh my god. I was about to say Shinbo was Garter Belt, but you know.
No, just take Garter Belt's body, but put Minoru's head on top.
Oh god, my brain is imagining this. It's not turning out very well.
Oh, God. Have you seen How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, people who've seen it will know the mental image of.
I do know about frig, who plays it's Stephen Fu,
yeah,
right?
Stephen Fu, yeah.
Yeah, I do know that.
Boy's head with massive
with
muscly
body.
Yeah.
God. Oh shit. Andrew keeps trying to get me to watch it. So bad. Anyway, no, Kei Jensen as Kotoko is very adorable, very precious. I will admit it does take a minute to kind of adjust, but like still it was very energetic, very tsundere. And then Ellen Wilkinson as Hibiya. See, what's interesting to me with this performance is because I know everybody's used to Ellen for variety of different roles. Have you ever heard of a little show called Serial Experiments Lane?
Oh god.
Okay, god damn it.
She's in that. And not that she's in that.
She is Lane.
But that she is Lane. I forgot about
She is Lane. Alias again.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Sorry, I have to do that before people get mad again.
That is
no,
so
like
different, though. That is.
It's very different, and like again, it took me a minute to kind of like understand and see where this character was going, because my brain defaulted to Lane, and even though I still haven't finished the show, I've only gotten like I've always only gotten halfway. I only get halfway through, and then I stop for some reason, and I need to fix this problem.
And you know,
maybe after this I'll go back to it today. I don't know.
No. I think I did the same thing because I bought the Genyon singles when they were like dirt cheap, and I also got like halfway through it because at the halfway point is where it becomes really hard to kind of tell where the show is going. So
yeah, that's the thing. It gets a little bit difficult. Like I have the Blu-ray set though, not the special limited edition one that.
No, the art book.
Funimation did. No, I don't have that one. I wish I was able to get that one. God, I would have loved to. I just didn't have the money at the time. I have the standard one though.
I didn't either.
I have the Anime Classics one. But anyway, no. So trying to get my brain to go from Lane to Hibiya, it took a solid 13, 14 episodes for me to get into it. But like, I did also get where it was going because Hibiya is just this sweet person, and she's just so kind and she's so helpful, and so having someone as soft-spoken as Ellen actually I think worked to its benefit. And then we get to the fun stuff that we learn about Hibiya, and I get Lane vibes all over again.
You call the stuff that she goes through fun?
Look here. She has this huge computer fucking network in her basement.
That she does.
Alright? She's going full Lane on us again.
She's going into the wired. She's getting into.
She's going back to the wired. She's going back into the wired. Be careful. Be careful, Lane. Be careful, Hibiya.
Would you say that, so this show takes place in the present day? At the present time?
Yes. I mean, to be fair though, Lane was 98?
Yep. A couple years.
Because you said Chobits was what,
2002, I believe.
Yeah. So that's at least 4 or 5 years in between.
I mean, we got...
For shows themselves, but granted, maybe the dubs were like... Well, the dubs might have taken the same amount of time.
I think...
It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know if I could even compare the quality of Chobits' dubs to Lane's dub, but yeah, I think they were dubbed around the same time.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I can see Lane maybe getting dubbed, like, right at early 2000s.
You think so?
And then maybe? Because, again, Lane is 1998.
Well, I don't remember it ever being available as a VHS tape as a thing. Like, something like that was...
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, because if they had dubbed it and, they wouldn't have televised it. There is no way that Lane was ever getting televised in America. It would have been made strictly for home video release.
You know what? I would love to see Lane get televised now and see how people react to it.
Yes, Adult Swim. Make that happen.
You know what? I mean, Toonami brought back Paranoia Agent. Thank the fucking Lord. So let's get some more weird shit. Let's go full weird. Bring Lane to the mix. Come on.
There is a little...
When Paranoia Agent's done in July, replace it with Lane. We got a winner here.
And don't tell anyone. Like don't give them heads up. Just like, the mystery show will be getting on this date. And then you'll have...
See, I wish that would be how they could approach it. But you realize, like, fans of Toonami will be freaking the fuck out and bugging the shit out of them.
Okay, so what you do then is you leave them a bunch of cryptic clues for them to figure it out. So that only people who are, like, super familiar with Lane would actually be able to figure it out.
You're also assuming that the Toonami fan base knows exactly what Lane is.
I gotta admit,
That's a horrible assumption.
I'm not in that fandom. Like, I don't watch it because I don't have cable. So you're right. I don't know if they would be the typical Dragon Ball Super and Food Wars kind of watching crowd.
I was about to say, like... Considering Toonami is basically the shonen block.
Is Black Clover airing on there?
Black Clover's still going on there, yeah.
Alright. Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting way off track here. Toonami, put Lane on to replace Paranoid Agent in July. That would be fucking fantastic, and it'll give me the perfect excuse to finally watch Lane in its entirety. Okay, anyway. God, Ellen. God, big sidetrack for like a solid 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Anyway, in summary, I wasn't a fan of Kojima. I'm sorry, it was very, very rough. I did like Kotoko. She was cute little tsundere, and one of the few performances I was actually able to get from like the get-go when she came in. Mm-hmm. And then Hibiya, it took a minute, like everything else. For me, it took a minute to kind of get into it, but once I understood Hibiya's character, I was able to get a bit more invested into it, and I think I not only got a bit more invested into it, but she definitely grew into the role a lot more by the end of it. So, yeah.
Andrew, similar thoughts?
I'll say this. I don't think Terra Stone is very good.
Aw, how harsh.
You're not beating around the bush?
I'm not beating around the bush. I don't think he's very good as this character. I think the character is kind of... This character is totally somebody I would believe would exist in the future, because he's just an asshole on the forums who's trying to be a dickhead and tries to be holier than thou, and he just has a shit ton of money, spends it on like 20 plus Persicoms. I totally buy that he would buy somebody's expensive looking computer and add it to his collection. He's that kind of shitlord. And also, I feel Terrence needed to sound much more like a shitlord to make him more convincing to me. I will say that Kotoko is adorable. I think Kotoko is a adorable little tsundere queen. And also, I will say, in a world where living computer girls exist, the portable mobile units seem much more, like, useful in the long term. The only reason, like, I guess you would get a bigger model is because, has more storage. It's like, I could hide a little tiny robot person in, like, my backpack and it'll be fine, and it's portable and it takes less room, and it's also a phone. Anyways, what I'm saying is Chi models are overrated. Kotoko and Sumomo models are where it's at.
I would argue that the downside would be a lack of a monitor, but no, they come with their own monitors too.
You plug them into your cathode tubes and you just do that. The future's weird. Anyways, Kotoko is adorable, and I think she's really funny, and she really bounces off well with Sumomo. They have a nice, good little love-hate relationship, and it's adorable, and it's great. And her delivery is amazing. My loophole with Alii is that I can mention other roles they've done. I listened to The Landlady, and I think of Irisfield from Fate Zero, because it's almost the exact same tone of voice, and I think they're very similar characters in their delivery and dynamic, and I actually think she does a pretty good job sounding like this very kind of sweet, darling old landlady, and then you find out a little more about her. It's like, holy shit, you've got some lore shit going on, especially when it comes to the fact that you are a supercomputer genius, and the fact that this little shithole of an apartment complex has crazier internet than most buildings, and like, that makes sense. And she's got a nice futuristic desk. That's weird shit. Also, her husband basically has Chi as like a daughter, and then her other Chi daughter fell in love with her husband and died of a broken heart, and like, holy shit, there's a lot of dubious what the fuckery. And man, the last episodes were kind of weird.
This show confuses me so much.
Okay.
That was weird. She's a very nice landlady, and she's also a really good illustrator as well.
Yes.
I like the picture books. They're very cute. I like the little rabbit. But no, I think that she does a very good job. She's very airheaded. She's very sweet, but also when she gets very serious and stern, it's like, I can believe you're very serious and stern too. I think she does a pretty good job.
The thing I forgot to mention was that Chobits is canonical to another Clamp series called Angelic Layer. There was a show which also featured humanoid robots, but they were doll size, a lot less sophisticated, and more just for casual entertainment than the humanoid companions we got from this show. The reason I bring that up is because Hibiya's husband was actually a central character in that show. Hardy, you're familiar-ish with Angelic Layer, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, you when I say Wiggly Ichan, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Exactly.
What?
Okay, so Hibiya's husband in Angelic Layer, who died preceding Chobits, which is why we never see him, you know, he created Chi and Freya, and the Angelic Layer series. He's basically a huge goofball in Angelic Layer. You don't see him as a serious scientist. You see him as an annoying hobo who you're just trying to get rid of.
I'm gonna be honest.
Hobo is a description I didn't think I would hear.
That is a description. But
okay.
I'll say this. I can believe the guy is a little bit of a weirdo on the grounds. You have to be a little bit of a weirdo to basically make 2 humanoid porcelain doll daughters for your wife. I mean, it's a sweet gesture, but it's... you have to have a couple of screws loose to think, oh, you know what's better than 1 pseudo-porcelain doll daughter? 2 pseudo-porcelain doll daughters.
To be fair, the only reason why this happened in the first place is because Hibiya couldn't have kids. But that's beside the point.
No, I know what you mean. Okay.
And adoption was totally not an option.
Anyway.
I'm just saying. So I bring that up to tie that all around. And also because we're going to talk about yet another connection to Angelic Layer in our very next segment. See, I've tied it all together here. Because we're going to move on from a couple of characters who have some robot connections to some people who are deep into the robot lore. Let us talk about Minoru Kokobunji and his robot sister, Yuzuki. Minoru Kokobunji is Let's just say that he's basically Izzy from Digimon if Izzy was also like super sophisticated and not as much of a nerd with a pet bug for a sentient partner.
Oh, sweet lord.
But he's very important in the show because he helps answer a lot of the questions that the characters have, and he's kind of their go-to resource when they need help. And he is aided in his endeavor by a persicom he developed named Yuzuki, who is designed to look and act almost identical to his sister Kaede, who died a couple of years before the show started, and who was a member of the Angelic Layer fighting team. Like, she was actually in that show. So, another connection in there. Why he did not name his robot Kaede 2 and instead named her Yuzuki, that's up for debate. So, voicing these characters. Okay, so we got a child genius in a Japanese anime. Who do you guys think is going to voice Minoru?
You already said Izzy as a comparison. Gee, I wonder.
It's Mona Marshall. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mona Marshall comes back to voice yet another child genius character with a very believable little boy voice. You've heard Mona Marshall before. You've heard her as Izzy in Digimon. You've heard her in one of her rare adult voices as Asuka in Noeen. And to bring it back around to Magic Knight Ray Earth yet again, she plays Ascot, which is another capricious little boy character in that show. Talking about Yuzuki, Yuzuki is voiced by Karen Strassman. You've heard her in one of the more recent shows. She was Emilia in Durarara. She was Megan Nami in Lagrange. And she is Miyuki in Lucky Star. Andrew, I'm going to actually pass this off to you for starting this out, because Mona and Karen, what you got to say about them?
Mona is a very convincing actress when it comes to playing these little, like, younger boy characters. I think Minoru is a much more sophisticated, well-spoken for boy than Naota-kun in Fooly Cooly, which is my big point of comparison when I think of, like, Mona Marshall playing, like, younger boy characters.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little more of a rambunctious, like, kind of a bit of a moody brat. Well, this guy is much more well-spoken for, intellectual. He's a pretty good rich boy who also has 4 robots, bikini, maid, girl, persica. There's a lot of... Look, I don't know if I've said this before in this episode. This show's really horny. It is not horny in a way where it's like they are shoving it in your face and reminding you, did you know what boobs look like? These are what boobs look like. It's like, it's written by ladies. That's how you know. It's like classy horny. It's horny, but it knows it's horny. It doesn't need to flaunt it. Anyways, back to Mona. Mona does a great job, and it's basically Mona's a lot of the exposition dump in the show, but also gets genuinely emotional when it comes to the quandary of having your most powerful robot look just like your sister and trying to struggle with the fact that, do I love you because you look just like my sister, or do I love you because you are your own person? Which, it's a very interesting quandary that they find themselves.
Andrew, Mona Marshall wasn't Naota and Fooly Cooly.
No, that was Barbara Goodson.
That was Barbara Goodson.
I was gonna.
Oh, shit!
I was 99% sure, but I didn't want to say it.
I did too.
I
I looked up
it
to I'm like, wait.
Okay, fuck.
Yeah, because in the back of your brain,
you're
like, wait, I would have remembered if Mona was in Fooly Cooly.
I was gonna say, they sound very familiar, and it was bugging me. I'm sorry. Okay, no, fuck it. Forget that I've said that part. Mona's great. Does a very good job doing the emotional core with the discussion. And Yuzuki sounds very casual, matter-of-factly, but she gets to be a little more independent when she gets to kind of rebel and hacks into a database. That's kind of a dangerous database to hack into. I think Karen's got a very good, big sisterly voice. I think their relationship is very interesting, but it's actually probably, of all the complicated relationships that we've discussed, probably one of the more vanilla ones.
Yes.
It's just basically you can't get over your dead sister, but you're also kind of discovering she's not your sister, she is Yuzuki, which I thought was actually kind of sweet. But no, Mona, who is not Barbara Goodson, does a fantastic job, and I think Karen Strassman does a pretty good job as Yuzuki.
Now, I'm going to dissent that a little bit because I actually was not a big fan of Karen's performance in this from the get-go because it takes her a little while to work into it. And here's the reason why. Yuzuki is a robot, Persicom, what you want to call them. And because of that, it sounded like she was trying to sound robotic herself. Now, whether or not that was the intentional direction, like, okay, read this a little less expression-like, almost like a robot would, or if that was just learning to act a little bit, like it took a little time to get into that, I can't quite be sure, but it turned me off to the performance in rewatching it. Like, I didn't really notice that the first time, but this time rewatching it and being a little more critical, I'm like, it's a little on the flatter side. But luckily, she does have a whole lot of that, like you're saying, that nice big sisterly voice to her. And that's the kind of thing that does make it believable when she decides, I am going to commit digital suicide by trying to cyber hack into this database. So I guess it's the one where it took me the longest to get used to. No problems at all getting used to Mona Marshall. Like you were saying before, Hardy, there's a lot of technobabble in the show, and most of it falls on Kokobunji, because he has to describe, what is a Persicom? What's a Chobits? What's a message board? What's a username? Why are you calling someone M when your name isn't M? That was very believable. The idea that someone wouldn't call someone their actual name. They have to call them their web name. Speaking of which, Lilac, what did you think of these performances?
I think Andrew needs to learn his actors a little bit better. I love you.
Come on.
I'm contemplating cutting
now that
part
I've
out
said
of this,
something, probably not. Oh boy. So I'll start with Karen as Yuzuki as well. It's very weird that you say you're the center on this one. I could tell there were some moments where it seemed a little bit stiff and robotic, but at the same time, I kind of also understood that was probably the direction that they were going with.
You think so?
Which I kind of think so, because like when you think about it, the idea that Yuzuki is supposed to be a replacement for
Kaede.
For Kaede, for Minoru's sister, and it's like a not so subtle reminder that Yuzuki is not human, if that makes sense. So, I don't know, maybe it wasn't intentional, but if I put my brain muscles to work, I don't know what I'm saying right now. If I describe it as that, I think it works.
I could buy that.
I can understand what you're coming from, though.
But I could buy that if any of the other Persicoms were directed like that, but none of them really are.
Chi, maybe.
Well,
Chi, but she's a different story entirely, though.
Yeah, I got words on that.
She's a different animal. But I did find Karen's portrayal of Yuzuki as, like, this soft and just soft-spoken and just a gentle person. She does... Wow. I can't read my writing today. She does have her own personality despite being a robot, which I appreciated. Not as much of a personality as Kotoko or Sumomo of all frickin' people. God. But you can tell that there is something there, which I really appreciate. As for Mona Marshall, this is not Izzy from Digimon.
No.
This is not Naoto from Fooly Cooly. This is not Naoto from Fooly Cooly.
Of course it's not Naoto.
I'm going to keep dunking on Andrew the whole fucking night.
I'm going to defend Andrew. I'm going to defend him because I've also gotten actors wrong before on recording. So it happens, okay? Don't hold that against you.
Look.
Now, being horny on Maine, we can hold that against him, but that's not happening in this episode.
Anyway, yes. Because it's fun to poke fun at him. It's great. But Mona Marshall, it's funny that the character is similar to an Izzy, but it's not Izzy, because Minoru is a lot more quiet. He's a lot more quiet, a lot more calm, and, like, methodical, and can think things through 9 times out of 10. which is very interesting. It's a very different side than what at least I'm used to for Mona Marshall and what she usually portrays for these kinds of characters. Except, obviously, when it comes to Yuzuki. Anything related to Yuzuki and putting Yuzuki in danger and putting her well-being at risk, nope, he doesn't. Minoru wants none of that shit. Like, he will defend Yuzuki and be like, no, you stop that. You stop that. We're not going to do this to her. No, no, no. And I appreciate that a lot. But yeah, like, in general, I actually liked both of these performances. There were points where it was rather stiff, and rather flat at points, especially in the beginning, because growing pains on these roles, more than likely.
Yeah.
But, again, like I was saying with some of the earlier characters, when it has to hit specific moments and specific beats, it does that. They do that. And I think they portray those specific moments rather well. But yeah, overall, they both did a good job. I did enjoy them.
Hardy, man.
Yeah. I'll keep it brief. I think they both did very fitting performances. Yeah, because obviously Mona Marshall has a lot of experience voicing this type of character. Fun fact, I know Andrew confused her for Barbara Goodson earlier. Many people know that Koko Bunji has the voice of Rita Repulsa. No. That Naoto has the voice of Rita Repulsa, but now he's also voiced by Cloud and Tifa's landlady in the remake.
Oh my god!
Legit, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Now she oversees the apartment complex that they stay at. But anyways, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. You could definitely tell Koko Bunji is definitely not Izzy, even though he's sort of Izzy, caffeine-free Izzy, as I could say.
Caffeine-free. Izzy Light? Is that what you're thinking of?
Izzy Zero Sugar.
Izzy Zero.
There you go. There's a can of Coke on the shelf, and that's Izzy. And then there's the black can with zero sugar in it. That's Minoru.
Yeah.
Basically, Izzy is a Switch, and Minoru is a Switch-a-Lite.
Okay. Anyways,
you thought he was going somewhere else with that, didn't you?
No comment. Considering
he's not going to confirm or deny it, but that answer alone tells me everything.
Considering how Minoru dresses his persicoms other than Yuzuki, I don't know.
You're not wrong.
Maybe that was just the factory default. He had no say in it.
No, it's very clearly stated that all of his persicoms are customized. You really think he got that factory made? No.
Yeah.
And this is why you can't live on the internet, people. Then you grow up to think women should dress like this.
Anyways, I diverse. Yeah, Mona sounds really great as yet another little boy character, and Karen sounds really great as another big sister type character. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
And I'm glad, Andrew, that you described their relationship as the most vanilla of the whole cast, because I feel like in a different kind of show, Minoru would take from the show the lesson, I should let go of my sister because, I miss her, but I need to let her go. But in this show, he does that not by letting go of Yuzuki, but by embracing Yuzuki as who she is. And that's a very mature, I don't know if mature is the right word, but it's unexpected direction for them to take.
It's a different way of it's a very interesting way of handling grief is basically Minoru's story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, yeah. So, on that topic, that's vanilla. Are you guys ready to go into dark chocolate mode?
I was gonna say Rocky Road, but that works too.
It's
legit not wrong.
Oh my god. This is, okay, the part we're gonna cover here is probably the part for most of us where we learned, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it's too late to turn back now.
It's like opening the bag of the dead dove from Arrested Development and saying, I didn't know what I was expecting.
Oh my god.
Yes.
You're right.
Shit.
So this is our next group is going to be talking about yet another couple and their persicom. And, well, let's list them out here. First up, when you go to a prep school, you need to have an instructor. And in this case, we have Takako Shimizu, who is the instructor that the characters learn from in more ways than one. Oh, my.
I wonder who's hot for teacher, though. You're welcome for that opening, boys and girls. Anyway.
Man, I think the clock is slow. But it helping.
Oh, shit. And now for our musical break. I feel like I can hear the tapping of fingers on like a desk. I hear the tapping fingers on a desk, and I'm like, is Hardy like finger tapping a guitar right now?
What do you think the teacher's gonna look like this year?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, and who is half a teacher but none other than Hiromu Shinbo?
You were so close.
That is fucking. That's staying in, Noah. You better keep this in right now.
Damn, you're right. Never, ever, ever, never try to be Eddie. People, never, ever try to go full Eddie. Anyways, the one who is hot for teacher is Hideki's next door neighbor and hot for teacher, Hiromu Shinbo, who is the same age as Hideki, and yet somehow gets it really hot for the teacher when we find out, first of all, what her backstory is with Persicoms, and he kind of takes it upon himself to be her knight in shining armor. Make of that what you will. But he has a persicom of his own, who is the best girl in the whole show. I will hear no arguments otherwise. Her name is Sumomo, and she is the other pocket-sized persicom who dresses in a pink genie-like outfit, wields a tambourine, and starts the day out with the wakey-wakey exercises, which, after watching the show, Jennifer would wake me up with that same expression, much to my chagrin for ever showing her the show in the first place.
Oh, you basically...
That's your own fault and no one else's.
Yeah, you dug yourself your own hole there.
It's my own damn fault. Look, it was one of the few shows that we both enjoyed together, so I will take it. I will take the wakey-wakey exercises.
Good.
It was Chobits and Fruits Basket. That's pretty much it.
Well, that's a win right there, then.
That's a pretty good combo.
That it is.
All right.
So, Takako is voiced by Wendy Lee. And I know you've all heard her before. I don't have to list roles, but I will for the fun of it. She's Haruhi Suzumiya. She's Kanata in Lucky Star. She's Faye Valentine. She is all of the direction in California dubs these days. She is also, from what I've been told, just an incredibly wonderful person. Playing Shinbo is another absolutely wonderful person who also does quite a bit of directing nowadays. Tony Oliver. If you've seen the Lupin the Third movie, Mystery of Mamo, you've heard him there. If you've seen Lucky Star, he plays Kanata's dad. If you've seen Unlimited Blade Works, which I haven't, he apparently plays Lance. I know there's some references to Lance. Whatever. Like, Lancer, Lance me back and
Lance
forth.
Bass.
I haven't seen the show. Where should anyone start in Fate series? I don't know, and I don't think I ever will.
0.
All
No,
right,
start with 06 just to get the shit pile out of the way first.
I feel compelled to watch it in chronological order, but that's for a different podcast. But in this one, I am so excited about this because we finally get to talk about a voice actress who I don't think many people even have heard her name before. At least if you're not one of the older fans. Sandy Fox voices Sumomo, and I adore Sandy Fox. You've heard her in stuff like Vern in Grand Blue. You've heard her in the new redub of Sailor Moon as Chibi. Is it?
Chibi-Usa.
It's just Chibi-Usa. Just I'm gonna call her Usa. And she was also in Magic Knight Rayearth in the second season that nobody watched. She voiced the character of Asuka. There's a lot of dark subject matter to unpack here. So, Lilac, why don't you ease us into talking about the characters and why we all want to kill Takako's husband?
I was saying earlier that this show confused the shit out of me. And eventually did a 180 and confused me even more. And it was this f***ing storyline that did it. Like,
Really?
okay, so, like, what I was used to, at least for, what was it, like, 12, 13 episodes in, is just, like, a mix of slice of life, comedy, perversion kind of shit. Like, that's what I was used to. And some of it, because my brain just had a hard time getting into the show, I'm not gonna lie. I just couldn't get attached to it. And then the episode where Miss Shimizu magically appears at Hideki's apartment and spends the night, I was like, okay, interesting. This is coming out of nowhere. Cool. And then at the end of that episode, when Hideki's walking home and he catches Miss Shimizu and Shinbo out of nowhere talking to each other and then suddenly, like, kissing each other, I was like, wait, hold on. Legit for those listening, the boys can vouch for me on this. When I was watching these specific set of episodes yesterday, I was, like, writing shit in our little chat for the show, and I was so confused, and I'm like, wait, why is Miss Shimizu over there? And all Hardy could say is just, wait for it, wait for it, and I'm like, what? I'm still confused, and still wait for it, wait for it, and then I get to the end of it, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching now? And all three of the boys basically collectively are like, there it is.
There it is.
The bomb has struck.
I'm like, what? Because I was the last one to, like, get through those sets of episodes out of the four of us. And I'm just like, what happened? And then all of a sudden, from this point on, like, the show did a 180 tonally. And now I'm just like, what is this sci-fi weird existential crap happening? I'm confused. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, it's very interesting for me to talk about these three actresses, because two of them I actually have never really talked about for acting roles before, if you can believe it. Well, we didn't really talk about Tony Oliver as Konata's dad, I don't think, right? Not as part of the discussion point, but probably in
we did
passing.
talk about him, but he
probably in passing, right?
Yeah, well, no, he was like one of the main characters, but we had much less to say about him than we did the other girls, because, you know, if you're not a hot girl, then what's the point of talking about you?
But, like, it's just very interesting, because I'm not that familiar with Tony Oliver as an actor outside of goddamn Lupin. Like, legit. And then Sandy Fox, I don't think I have ever heard her as anything. I have not seen the new redub of Sailor Moon, believe it or not. I'm just briefly, like, running through to see if anything stands out in terms of credits, and I'm not seeing anything, which is very weird for me. And then Wendy Lee is Wendy Lee, so that's just what is there to say? But let me start with Sandy, actually. Sandy is a huge ball of energy. Like, she's such a ball of energy, and it's a fun energy. I very much appreciate that there's so much energy to her. This is probably with the exception of maybe Hideki, because Hideki has his outbursts, and we're gonna talk about him. This is the most energetic character of the show. And to her credit, she does pretty well. It can be a little rough sometimes, admittedly. Like, but she's still so stupidly cute and spunky as this little robot girl. Like, just like, it's time to wake up, wakey. Or like, she's your little GPS, and it's like, she blows the whistle. No, this is the wrong way. You can't buy panties here.
I love that you're trying to mimic her pitch by pitching up your voice to falsetto level, and it's still not high enough.
No, my voice cannot reach that right now. Legit.
She's not. The fun thing is that she's not really like Sandy Fox, to my knowledge, doesn't have to try to pitch it up very high. Like something I've seen her in that's not anime related is she actually showed up on an episode of this game show called Press Your Luck.
Yeah.
Which no, I'm sorry, it was the revamp of Press Your Luck.
Okay.
But it was basically the same thing, and yeah, she was on it, just playing the game, and yeah, her normal speaking voice is just close to that pitch. It's kind of a Mona Marshall situation where, like you were saying before, so you can't criticize people for their natural voices. Sometimes that's just the voice God gave them.
But no, Sandy Fox is spunky and just so energetic. Sometimes it can be it sometimes can almost get too energetic to the point of obnoxious, to the point where I can understand where it can get borderline obnoxious. I can understand that. But I also at least appreciate the balance of personality compared to some of these other characters that are very soft-spoken and quiet. And then Hideki is a person that exists. Anyway, so for the most part, I did enjoy Sandy as Sumomo. Wendy Lee as Miss Shimizu. That's an interesting one. No, Wendy Lee is a very interesting one because Wendy Lee is a prominent voice actress and you've heard her in a variety of roles. This is one of the roles that I think that I hear that is very sassy and kind of sensual at points. 'Cause like, oh sweet lord, the episode where she stayed the night with Hideki. Oh sweet lord, and she ended up getting drunk and everything. I'm just like, oh no. This is a thing that's happening right now.
I mean, have you seen how the woman drinks? She could put me down.
She could, yeah.
And those were 24 ounces. Those were 24-ounce cans, too.
But at the same time, she also has a very vulnerable side that has quite a bit of a punch to it. Because under that perky, like, happy facade is just this hurt woman after her husband basically, essentially tosses her aside, really.
Yeah.
Which really is not okay.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that's. If you're watching this show for the first time, that's where it's going to dawn on you that this is not all a light, happy.
This show took a 180 fucking degree turn at this fucking point. And it was weird.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't call it a 180 degree turn because the seeds for what the show is going to be about were kind of laid early on. It just wasn't as blatant about it until that episode.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't frickin' notice those seeds. I didn't notice them. It just took a 180 turn. I'm just like, what the hell am I watching? This is a completely different show now. No, but anyway. But similarly to a good amount of performances, weirdly enough, it did take a minute for me to adjust to even Wendy Lee as Miss Shimizu. Like, this dub is so strange to me because it's so strange to me because, again, it's so I don't think stands very well right now, and it's very difficult for me to like really give decent thoughts about it because I'm getting so repetitive, but it did take a tiny bit for me to really get into and adjust to Wendy as Shimizu, but once we got to the actual arc of the story where it involved Miss Shimizu, that's where I felt it a bit more, and I kind of felt it a lot more, and I got more accustomed to it at that point, and I got more invested.
Yeah, because before that, she pops up throughout the show as just kind of the good-natured, but also kind of what's what we're looking for here? Like she doesn't berate Hideki for his personality. It's more like I know you can do better, and so I'm gonna kind of nudge you in the right direction.
She's trying to motivate him.
Yeah,
she really is. She means very well. And then we have Shinbo, right? And Tony Oliver.
Oh boy, do we ever.
And it's very weird for me to talk about Tony Oliver. But here's the thing. I actually think this is my favorite performance of the show.
Really?
Yeah, like from the beginning, I was totally invested in his performance. It's the one performance aside from, who the hell did I say? Mona, I think, that was the most consistent all the way through. Not only that, but like, I enjoyed the personality and the vocal quality of the performance too. Like, cause Shinbo means so well. He's a good dude. He's a good man, and a good person, a good friend. He's also snarky at points, and it's kind of great when he is. I was like, what? No, when they were playing the video game, like, why did you drag me into this?
That was fun.
Why did you drag me into this? I'm trying to go to bed right now, Hideki. But then I think what really sold me on it for sure, because that 180 flip that I mentioned earlier, it doesn't, in my brain, didn't officially start until the end of that episode where he is talking to Miss Shimizu and is being very serious about their relationship. And they're outside in the rain and all that stuff. That, like, sudden flip in character, I think was done so well, and I loved every second of it. But, like, I just absolutely love this character, from, like, the personality to those little moments that he had. Whether it's interacting with Sumomo, whether it's interacting with Hideki when Hideki's a fucking noob at the internet. I just find it so much fun. And, again, this is probably the one performance that was the most consistent to me throughout the entire show. I didn't have any issues with it, and I just fell in love with it from the start. So I'm kind of sad I don't get to talk about Tony Oliver as a voice actor in recent stuff. Like, I'm sure he's done recent stuff, yeah, but at least I haven't seen anything recently that he's voiced in anyway. It's usually just directing that he does, outside of goddamn Lupin again. But even then, like, I really, really do enjoy this performance, and like in a dub, to me, that's like very, very hit or miss probably for a lot of people, and it was hard for me to like really get into it and find so many good things. Like, this is probably one of the biggest like praises I can give right now, honestly, because I just love Tony Oliver as Shinbo. I loved every second of it. So
I want to pass this up. Hardy, I'd like you to have a tangent, please.
Let's see here. I have to sort of side with Lilac. I don't think he was my favorite performance in this show, but I really did enjoy Tony's stint as Shinbo, because he's able to pull off both the moments where Shinbo is kind of not, I wouldn't say being an idiot, but he's being goofy. Also the moments where he's sort of freaking out, thinking his computer has died, and also the moments where he's sort of, the more genuine moments where he's slowly seducing his teacher and trying to convince her to leave her husband. And I think Tony does a really good job. I couldn't not hear Lupin at a few moments, but I mean, that's just...
I heard Lupin too a couple times, but it's
yeah,
the same
Lupin
thing as like, it's the same
Lupin
thing
is,
as hearing Faye over again, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, Lupin is considerably more goofy than Shinbo is, but yeah. But yeah, I think he did a good performance here. Wendy Lee, again, is Wendy Lee. I don't think I have ever heard a bad performance from her. I was a little...
Oh, no. Noah has words.
You haven't heard... Have you heard the old Harmony Gold dub of Dragon Ball Z?
Oh my... No!
But we're not going to talk
It's
about
not
that.
Dragon Ball Z.
It's
Dragon
Dragon
Ball.
Yeah, we're not
yes.
talking about that. But anyways, there have been a few that I've been more critical of. In fact, Haruhi Suzumiya was one that never really sold me, to be ironic.
I remember that. I remember that discussion, yeah.
And there are already people who are listening to the very few snippets from the new Case Closed dub that they're saying she's really not going to be the right voice for Conan. But that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But again, Wendy Lee is Wendy Lee. She's one of my all-time favorite voice actresses, and I think that she does really good job as Miss Shimizu. Let me say this here: Sumomo can be very, very, very annoying.
Yes.
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 It's true.
And
I don't think we're going to argue that.
yeah, Sandy Fox definitely brings a liveliness to the character. I think she makes it a bit too much at times,
Okay.
to where it's kind of irritating. But I don't fault the actress for that, and I don't fault the performance for that. It's mainly just because the character can be very annoying at times. She went in there and made Sumomo be Sumomo because we all need Momo Sumomo. So
Momo? I'm confused
Yeah.
now. That made my
Sumomo
brain hurt.
Momomo.
Momo Sumomo faux show.
Yeah.
Stop. You guys are making my brain
show.
hurt.
Anyways,
Oh,
that's what I have to say. So go.
Stop making my brain hurt. It's midnight right now. Stop.
Never.
Go. Oh, no.
Shut the
Her
fuck
name is
up.
Okay.
Her name is Coco. She is loco. I say, oh no.
Oh god, I love Jormungand's.
Stop my
Time to
brain.
attack. Time to
Andrew,
attack.
please stop my
Oh.
brain.
Right. Okay, alright, is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay, so, first up, I'm just going to say, I do agree that, I think at first I thought Sumomo was a little bit annoying, but I think as the show went on, I got kind of endeared to the little goofy robot child dork. I got very endeared to her, and I think Sandy is very rambunctious and energetic, and I kind of started really falling in love with Sumomo being probably the most pippy GPS in the world. Warning, warning! You are going the wrong way!
Advertising.
Warning, warning! That is not a place where you buy underpants! That is a truck!
Underpants.
Please,
She buys underpants here.
Don't-
Underpants, thank you,
Please
please.
don't turn me into a chew toy.
Oh god, when she's about to get chased by the dog, I'm like, oh, that's adorable. I think she's a little, I agree she's a little annoying, but Sandy Fox is having a time of her life being this goofy little goober, and I think she's a great comic, goofy little goober, I think she's a good little comic relief, though I'll also say I do think I kind of wanted to see a little more of a complexity to Sumomo's story. Partially, just because it's like, you know what, she'd have an interesting perspective on certain things too. She has opinions and feelings of things, even if she's programmed to have a little idle goofy dance, and it's adorable and cute. I'll say this. You know what I would have liked? I would have liked her perspective on being abandoned and given to Hideki out of the blue. More on that in a second as I segue into this. Let's talk about Takeko, Shimizu, and Shimbo. I'll start with Shimizu. I think Wendy Lee does a very good job sounding like the authoritative, cool, level-headed teacher. That's a bit. She's a respectable educator. She's a little bit loose, and oh god, I just realized what I meant by saying a little bit loose.
Good job.
She gets a little loose with her students, so to speak. But yeah, I think like Wendy does a pretty good job sounding like the stern educator lady who's a little bit of a flirt at times. But I was very impressed with the dramatic beats of her failed marriage because her husband became a Persicom assessed, like, person to the point that he was locking her out because he didn't even realize she was still there. Like, that's, like, fucked up. Genuinely so, and that's a pretty upsetting story arc. But I think Wendy does a good job doing the dramatic stuff, and I do kind of enjoy the very dubious relationship. I think Tony as Shinbo is definitely, like, one of the strongest performances in the show. I'm very familiar with Tony Oliver as, like, a director nowadays, but he's a really strong actor. He knows his stuff. He is basically, like, ironically enough, Tony Oliver is a voice acting teacher for a lot of voice actors we've covered on this show. Many people cite him as, like, one of the people they consider the most insightful voice acting class they've taken. I'm sort of segueing to the fact that Shinbo does, in fact, fuck a teacher. Anyways.
We said it. He's hot for teacher. Who
he's very hot for
kidding?
teacher.
He's got it bad.
lots of people are
He's
hot for
got it
teacher.
bad. He's got it bad.
He's a lancer, and he decided to put his lance in her.
Okay, that was a terrible joke. That was a
That,
horrible
I was
joke.
I've been saving
like
that one for the past, like, 15 minutes, okay?
Andrew,
Anyways,
that's a horrible joke, and you should feel bad.
I
Andrew,
feel terrible. Let's continue. So, here's the thing. Tony Oliver's been in the game for a long-ass time, but he's a really, really good actor. He does a great job making Shinbo sound like this very chill, relaxing bro guy. Like, I would totally hang out with a Shinbo. He's a good friend. He knows what he's doing. He's a techie. He's a bit of a goober, but he's also not like a creepy friend. He's a very supportive, encouraging friend who's always there for Hideki when he needs him to be. He's a good guy. And also, actually kind of a bit of a charming romantic in a way. While the relationship's a little questionable. What?
He gives her a gold star, that's for sure.
Yeah, he did. He gave her a gold star.
He gave her a gold star. Oh god, I'm having fun with this. I'm having fun with this one because they're legal. Compared to Mr. Manager and the high school girl.
I guess you could say that Shinbo gave Takako a couple of banana stickers.
That was a horrible joke, and you,
You
should
had
feel
to
bad.
bring up the banana stickers. Wow.
That's the only thing that
That's a horrible
Wow.
joke.
That's a
You feel-
death clock reference. You come into my house on the recording of Chobits
sorry about
and you make a freaking Metalocalypse reference. Oh my god. I don't know why I'm as worked up about this as I am, but I am.
Okay.
I'm proud of you too, Hardy.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Why should Hardy be? Why are you? First of all, why are you proud of Hardy? And Hardy is not proud of you. So what the fuck?
Because this is the twisted topsy-turvy dub talk episode where nothing makes sense anymore.
And
And
now
don't
that you've
matter.
brought-
Continue, Andrew. I like where
Now
you're going
that you've
with this.
brought it up, I can't stop making Metalocalypse quotes.
Oh,
Thank you so
no.
much. I'm going to say this in English so that you understand. I once flies in on a dragons.
Shit.
It's like,
I
this
love
total
you, Hardy.
sausage fest. Toki liked sausage fest. It's like, oh no, not that sausage fest. That was fun.
I haven't even seen Metalocalypse, and I only know bits and
It's-
pieces of it. I'm just like, oh my god, why? Why are we doing this?
All
Why
right.
am I here?
All right, Hardy. Hardy, let's get this out of our
God.
system. Let's get one Dr. Roxo, and then let's continue on.
Dr. Oxo needs to get clean.
Jesus Christ.
I do cocaine.
I fucking quit. I'm done. I'm going to bed.
Thank you,
Good
Hardy.
night.
Oh, you can't.
We're almost done, sweetie. We're
No,
almost
you guys
done.
are almost done. I'm leaving now.
You're-
Bye.
Okay.
You
All
are
right.
in this metal band with
Oh,
us for
God,
life.
am I really?
You are in this black metal band with us till the end of
Shit,
time.
Why did I volunteer for this?
That's fucking brutal, man. Anyways. So, Tony is a very good bro. He's a supportive kind of goofball guy who is very interesting, but also kind of a sincere romantic. He hears he basically sees Takako just alone on the swings because she has nowhere else to go, and he just kind of is smitten with her. And over the course of the entire show, basically in the background. He's kind of courting her the entire time until he's kind of ready to take the plunge and basically run away together to get hitched. But he's serious about it. He's serious about her, showing her that there is love that can be found in her heart that has been wounded by a man who has left her for the computer age. And I think that's kind of strange, but Tony adds such a level of sincerity and, like, earnest romanticism to it. And also, like, the scene in the bathhouse is genuinely, like, gripping romantic stuff. Who he then proceeds to give her a banana sticker at the end of it. Okay, I'm done now, for reals!
Oh, sweet, sweet lord.
You say that like she didn't want it.
So Andrew,
Yes.
next time I see you, you know what you're not getting?
A banana sticker.
Yes.
I will
It's
accept
okay. You
this.
could go buy some for yourself.
I could! They're very cheap.
God.
Anyways.
You're not getting a gold star either, just so you know.
You know what isn't cheap, though? Sumomo. Sumomo is a precious being. She is a portable device. He has sunk probably at least a couple $100, if not at least a 4-digit into her. And he just gives her away. He just kind of gives her to Hideki just because, hey, I got my teacher now. I don't need my robot girl anymore. And I'm thinking to myself...
It's not that, but okay, look, if you were dating someone who had severe trauma related to, I don't know, let's say pineapples.
Okay, look. I get the dramatic story angle. I get the fact that she has personally been harmed by somebody getting too attached to a persicom, like basically to the point of infatuation and obsession. And I guess maybe at the start of the relationship, here's what it is. If at the start of the relationship it's like, I'm gonna have Sumomo be with you for a little bit because she still has, I need to prove to her that I am not just obsessed with my persicom, that I can be with her and love her. After a little while, I'll get Sumomo back. I would be understanding of that. But he just kind of gives Hideki Sumomo.
Yeah, and there is a bit of there's a plot explanation for that, though, because the main reason he has Sumomo is to help him with school, to get through prep school and eventually to get into college. It's explained in the very last episode, not the episode, but the recap episode that comes after that, that despite being accepted into several colleges after prep school, Shinbo doesn't continue with his education. He gets a job because he wants to support their relationship. So ideally, you wouldn't need a persicom from studying anymore. You're just going into the workforce. So it kind of makes sense why he doesn't ask for Sumomo back.
But even still, look, Shinbo is not gonna NTR you with Sumomo. I don't even believe that
Andrew, did you have to say NTR about this?
I don't even believe that Sumomo knows what fucking is.
It's not, well, no, but that's not the point. The mental image is not something
Andrew,
I needed, okay? I don't want to think of Sumomo.
You know good and well that Shinbo has used Sumomo to look at porn sites. You know good and well.
Those are the basics.
Yeah. Oh god, you're right. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what? Fair point.
Sumomo has
probably watched him fap.
Oh god, I hate this fucking universe. Why would you remind me of this? Fuck.
Yes.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a segment from South Park. Jacking it, jackety jack.
Ah, fuck you.
Damn it.
Fuck you. Hardy, you're right, but still. Anyways, to bring this back around, Sandy Fox is adorable as Sumomo. Wendy Lee does a great job as the teacher, and Tony Oliver is fantastic and really convincing as Shinbo. And I will end this by saying he can't do the wakey wake Iggy dance with Sumomo anymore. He does it with Takako now. Thank you. Good night.
I would much rather. I would trade the wakey exercises for the snuggle exercises any day.
I fucking quit. I fucking quit.
You can try, but this is... Remember what the Eagle said. You can check out anytime you like.
But you can
never leave.
Okay, I'm
Andrew?
done. What?
Andrew.
Steffi?
Andrew.
Oh, this is precious.
You get nothing.
You
I
lose!
understand.
You
Good
lose.
day, sir!
You get nothing. Good day, sir. No banana stickers, no gold stars, no nothing.
Okay, so yeah.
You also don't
okay.
get the melons. So
Okay.
good
Okay.
day, sir.
All right. Let's
Sorry.
take this outside, you folks. This
oh
is not.
Lord.
I don't have any. I have no negative things to say about Wendy, Tony, or Sandy. To keep this short and brief, Wendy has two major roles. She has to be perky, young adult, fun teacher, and then she has to be very sad and serious when telling us, in a really well-directed scene, that essentially what happened with her husband, that he got hooked on the companionship of Persicams to the point that he does not even remember that he has a wife. And all of this is told without us seeing her husband, without us seeing that Persicom. No visuals needed. We just hear her tell us about it. But it's so damn effective. Mix that with the really good soundtrack, which we haven't really mentioned throughout the show, but it's a really good soundtrack. Wendy gets all points of that. She gets the perky parts right, and she gets the sad parts right, believably. So, really well done. It's not like Tony wasn't like my favorite performance or anything. It's just that because he's a much more chill guy, he doesn't get as much dynamicism compared to some of the other characters, and he doesn't really have damage in the show itself. Like you guys were saying, he's the bud, he's the tech guy, he's the chill dude who you can watch hentai with. Like, this is the guy who will go to his place and we will watch the milfing man on the weekend because that's just the kind of bro that he is.
You know what? Oh my god, just to cut you off for a second. This reminds me of that one internet video where it's like basically, oh my god, you're so pathetic. Are you watching porn by yourself? It's like, nah, I'm with my boys. that's Shinbo.
Oh,
that
Lordy.
is. Now I'm imagining Lupin if he'd ever gotten his hands on a Persicom.
Jesus Christ.
What would he dress it like?
You think he'd dress it?
Fujiko. No.
Point made.
He would dress it as Fujiko to get Fujiko's attention, and then he would have two Fujikos.
I mean, part 5 was like cyber crime, wasn't it? So that actually could fit into the continuing adventures of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Anyways, continue.
That's a fanfic for another day. But yeah, Tony does a really good job. It's kind of in contrast to who plays Hideki. He gets more confidence. He's more self-assured, and even when he's conveying all the emotions on the sadder side, or he's comforting other people, that's still believably the same character. The only interesting fact I guess I can add is that in the manga, he was not Hideki's next door neighbor. He still served the same purpose, but he didn't live right next door. So I appreciate that the anime decided to make him a next door neighbor to kind of condense some of the events, so we don't have a whole lot of traveling going on. So not everything has to be a one-to-one faithful adaptation, people. You can make changes in anime adaptation. Like, one thing you can do is when you have a character named Sumomo, please name them Sumomo. Don't name them Peach, because that's what they did in the manga, in the English translation of the manga. The original Tokyo Pop translation is called her Peach.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Get it?
Oh,
Because
boy.
Momo. I think they changed it for the Dark Horse re-release, but where was I going with this? Sandy Fox! I love Sandy Fox. Everything you guys said about her being annoying is not inaccurate, because yes, it is intentionally supposed to be high-pitched and high energy, and if it gets under your skin, well then, you're just too much of a Kotoko. For the rest of us, she is adorable, precious little pocket computer, and I would totally do the wakey exercise in the morning. Okay, honestly, Sandy Fox is been around for a really long time, has a very, does that same voice in a lot of shows, and each time I just can't hate on it. Like, some people call it annoying, I can't do that. It's just too perky and too upbeat, and acted well. Like, her acting is actually really good. That needs to be commended. So, with that being said, that brings us to our final characters, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! So, we've talked about a whole lot of computer relationships in this podcast so far. You know, you want to marry a computer? You can do that. You want to use one as a surrogate for your dead sister? You can do that. You want to basically abandon your wife so that you can live with one? Well, if you live on Facebook all your life, you probably are scum. But I'm sorry, I know some people who just live on their phones, and That's not cool. But what we're here to talk about is the final set of characters, the stars and staress, Chi and Hideki. Chi is the poster character, and I say that literally because I'm looking around my room and I have 3 Chi posters on my wall. You can't judge me. She is the
It's like you like this show or something. God.
They just popped up on their own. They're like Christmas decorations. But Chi is the, like I said, the star Persicom who we don't know where she came from, but we learn throughout the show that she is, in fact, a AI-induced Persicom created by Miss Hibiya and her husband as surrogate children because they were not able to have any. And the reason why she has no memories and is essentially non-functioning at the beginning is because she asked for her memory to be wiped and so that she could find someone who would love her on her own terms. And that person who we find, luckily is the first person who finds her, this show would have been really different if it wasn't, is Hideki Motosua, who is the starving college student that we need, because without his compassion and his everydayness, the show would be very, very different. The voices for these characters, Chi and her split personality Freya, are voiced by Michelle Ruff. Now, Michelle Ruff's more robotic voice that you're probably thinking of is Yuki Nagato in the Haruhi Suzumiya franchise. In a more recent thing on Netflix, she plays Kirari in Kakagurui. And to bring it all back to our discussions about Lupin the Third, she voices Fujiko Mine in quite a few recent Lupin the Third productions. But the one voice, and Lilac has been itching to talk about this since this episode started.
Sweet lord. Have I? Oh boy.
Hideki is, kind of a soft boy, a little more on the nerdier side.
Boy.
I just mean, he's not gruff, he's not tough, he's learning to...
Noah, he's a spaz.
and he's a little bit on the spastic side, who talks to himself when he should not do that. He's voiced by Crispin Freeman.
Ah, boy.
He's voiced by the one of the most charismatic voices in all of anime voice acting. This is not what we're used to hearing him as. We're used to hearing him in sometimes goofier voices, like Captain Taylor in the Captain Taylor franchise, or sometimes tougher voices like Fumo in the X franchise. Or, in some of the more recent performances, you heard him as Cray Forsyth in the movie Promare, which I heard was really...
That's going to be very interesting to revisit that again.
And of course, let us never forget Alucard from the Hellsing Organization.
Ah, yes.
Complete opposite of Hideki's character.
I was about to say he's one hell of a butler because my brain defaulted to that. I'm like, that's not even
him.
No.
I'm sorry, Miss. Making fun of me for getting Mona Marshall and Barbara Goodson mixed up. You almost confused him.
No. This is my thought process. It was Hardy talking about Alucard in a deep voice. It was, I will admit, mildly sensual, and my brain went to fucking Sebastian, which I know is voiced by J. Michael Tatum. Don't fucking lump me in with you right now, Andrew.
I'm owed one at least. Come on.
You are. And if you're gonna mix up any, Mona Marshall and Barbara Goodson is understandable. I hold you no ire for that. In fact, I'm gonna hold you so little ire that I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay. So, I'll start with Chi. This is definitely a kind of Michelle Ruff I've gotten pretty familiar with. This very kind of a little stoic, a little cold, seemingly cold at first, but then you see her kind of grow. She gets kind of cold and robotic when she's reading the story, because that's her inner voice. Mm-hmm. I also think that the series does a really good job differentiating Chi from Freya.
Yes.
I think it does a really good job. Michelle does a great job differentiating what Freya sounds like and what Chi sounds like. I will give props to that. I think it's a little weird sometimes here. You're trying to do longer dramatic spiels when she's talking in the Chi voice, which is basically the very kind of quiet but also little breathy stoic girl like this. Chi thinks that she was waiting for you. Like, I understand that she is a robot, and it is convincing, but it takes a little getting used to throughout the show. Though, outside of that, she has some really very cute Chi. It's a little goofy, but she doesn't make a good job making it sound very cute and endearing.
It is so goofy.
I think, like I said, it's a little weird. It takes getting used to, but I'm kind of expected this from Michelle. I think it's a little less refined than what I'm used to, but I think she does a pretty good job as Chi, all things said and done. Holy shit, this is the goofiest, wackiest, spazziest, and probably horniest Crispin Freeman I've ever heard. Wow.
I'm gonna argue. I think his Keone was plenty horny.
Hideki literally cannot keep his mouth shut. He literally cannot hide his boner to save his life.
But, okay, just because he said in episode 1 that he wants to look at internet porn in front of the landlady doesn't make him less perverted or more perverted than any other character that Crispin's voiced before.
Hideki is a pervert.
Average size.
But
Average
he's average
size.
size.
I forgot that. I was like, average size. Like, oh, that's gotta fuck with you.
But Hideki liked this look in his magazine. Understood, Sumomo will dress like that in the future.
No. He's so bad at hiding his boner. But no, it's a very fun, interesting, very different Crispin Freeman than I'm very used to. He's delightful. He is charming. He is funny. He is definitely like one of the most standout like performances in the dub. He is going hog wild with this, and it is delightful. He also does a good job making like the dramatic, like emotional moments where he has to be like a friend to somebody and he has to kind of confront his true feelings about Chi and all that. I think he does a great job. I think Crispin is having a ton of fun, and it is delightful to hear him do this character. I'm gonna say this. I don't know how I feel about the romance between him and Chi.
Okay, let me just say first and foremost that I can see where Lilac came from when she said she was a little confused, especially in the final episodes, because Chi's on-switch is located in Hova JJ, so that is supposed to undo the ability to have sex with the character. But they don't really make that explicit in... I don't feel like in the anime that if, you do try to have sex with her, that, that's going to reset her, and therefore she's going to forget everything about your relationship. So in the manga, it was much more explicit that you're supposed to find someone who will love you on a purely emotional level without the strings attached of sexuality.
Okay.
And so, I mean, that was like kind of explicitly what her creator was going for.
I get that. Here's the problem, though, which I now realize what the problem is later on in the series. She is very childish. A little too childish.
The entire moe phenomenon is sexualization of something infantile, which is incredibly problematic. In fact, the word Chobits is derived from it's derived from a word chobi, which is basically supposed to be something small, defenseless that you really want to protect. It's basically a synonym for moe.
I get it. It's still way more uncomfortable than I care for, especially when it's like, oh, you are getting aroused, and she is basically a little daughteru, but not really. She's kind of like an adult lady, even though she has the mind of like a 5-year-old, and it's really puts me off. I don't care for it. I it's like, I know the romance is the end game. It was very much always going to be the end game. I get that. I get that. It still makes me very uncomfortable.
And that is unfortunately what happens when your anime adaptation puts way more emphasis on having Chi do cute things, whereas in the manga, she was still very much the same character, but it didn't focus on her so much. Like, the camera didn't take time out to show how infantile
and cute
she was.
And also, it's even worse because you find out she actually was made to be a pseudo-child, to be loved, preciousized, and taken care of.
So.
Okay, yeah, no, that's my rant on their relationship, but I will say, Michelle Ruff, she's a little rough at the start, but no, I think she really does a great job making Chi sound really adorable, cutesy, and robotic, but also genuinely very different as Freya. And Crispin Freeman, this is the wackiest Crispin Freeman I think I've ever heard. It was delightful.
Hardy, let's get a different male perspective on this. What's your thoughts on Michelle and Crispin?
I've said this in previous episodes, that I have a very mixed feelings about Michelle Ruff as an actress in general. I've heard her in some very, very good performances. I've heard her in some where it sounds very obvious that she's just reading from the page. She is very 50-50 as an actress for me. And in this particular show, where she plays a robot, she most definitely sounds at her most robotic. And it works. Works for the most part. What can be grating on to me personally, I brought this up when we were talking about the writing, is how often she refers to herself in the third person.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't think that's a problem for the actress, but I think that's mainly just because that's the way the character was written. And that can be very annoying at times to me. As far as Michelle Ruff performances go, I would not say this is one of the strongest ones. But considering that she is a robot, the robotic speaking does work. And I feel like I'm being overly mean and critical right here, but it's 50-50 for me as far as this performance goes, because it can be very annoying, and yet at the same time it can also be very endearing. So it really all depends on the scene in question at the time.
To play devil's advocate, can you imagine that this could have been done better in the English language, or was this always going to be a cursed production to
I
begin
don't
with?
know. I have no opinion on that. I would have to listen to a different actress play the role. Yeah.
Okay.
In order for me
Fair
to
enough.
make an opinion, I would have to listen to someone else do their own version. Probably several people do their own version, and then judge from there. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Crispin Freeman, on the other hand, this is not the type of performance from him we're used to. We're used to his deep and sultry performances like Alucard, or his more stoic bravado performances. Like I think he was like in Last Exile, in fact, where he was not Harlock.
No, he was Edgelord Harlock.
He was store brand
Yes.
Harlock.
Or his role in Eureka 7 as Holland. A lot of people forget he was in that. But hearing him go full goofiness is just so much fun. Yes, because he is such an energetic actor when he needs to be. I think the performance I would compare this one to the most would probably be what's the guy's name from Scride? Straight Cougar. Because he gets to sort of do this Micro Machines super fast talking bit with his character. He sort of gets to do that Micro Machine speech sort of thing with him. And it's just hilarious. And hearing him as Hideki, as he gets to freak out and speak too loud and out himself over his porn sites, it's probably my personal favorite performance from the show. And yeah, I think that he is one of the standouts easily.
All right, Lilac. Thoughts on Hideki and Chi?
I'm gonna start with Michelle first, because Michelle as Chi is probably the most interesting conversation, or one of the most interesting conversations to have right now. Because I'm kind of split on this.
Just like Chi is. She's got another personality inside.
I walked into that one.
Yes, you
did.
did.
That was horrible. Anyway, I'm very split on this because I can see why people really love it. It's cutesy. It's adorable. She's a very silly goober. But yeah, silly goober. Underpants. Thank you, please. I can see it. I can also see how it might not work, though. Like, there are points, and especially very early on, again, where it was rather stilted and can be stiff at times, and granted, this is a robot. They probably went with the direction of trying to make her as robotic as possible. And she doesn't have any memories, so she doesn't have a personality effectively. So that can also explain why she can be very, very robotic for most of the show. But even then, like, having some semblance of personality or emotion can help. It's just very hard because some people, a lot of people are probably going to be split on this. Like, a lot of people are in the camp of, like, they absolutely love this performance. They think she's adorable and she's cute. There are some people who think that it's just way too robotic. It's not that great. They don't really like it. I'm kind of in the middle.
I mean, I can say from just interacting with people who've seen the show for a long time, I never really ran across anyone who was head over the moon for Michelle Ross' performance as Chi. A lot of people were at least of the persuasion that she was as good as the Japanese, but more than not, it's the Japanese was better performance.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't watch the Japanese, but but anyway, yeah, it's, for me, I'm kind of in the middle where it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes, though I think I lean a bit more in the doesn't work a good amount of the time, but I also can't deny that there was a lot of care and attention put into the performance. I don't know if maybe it was just direction and the vocal quality that kind of threw it off. But there were quite a few points where it was a little difficult to sit through, for me. And then we have.
There we go, people.
Oh boy.
Get your popcorn.
Oh boy. Oh, Crispin Freeman. So, for those who may or may not know, Crispin Freeman is, oddly enough, one of my favorite voice actors. Oddly enough. And
he wasn't even in Monster.
No, he wasn't. I'm blanking. I'm like, wait, was he? Yeah, even I'm trying to remember if he was. God. Shut up, Noah. And and I think, God, we rarely talk about him, or at least I rarely get to talk about him. I don't remember the last time I got to talk about him.
Oh, I can tell you.
Oh, I know
you guys covered Haruhi Suzumiya.
Thank you. I was about to say, there was some point where I talked about him. I just couldn't remember offhand. Now, if you've been living under a rock and don't know who Crispin Freeman is, aside from the roles that Noah just listed here, you can probably sense maybe a trend, where he usually, Crispin Freeman will usually voice, like, maybe slightly burly, or very mature, or very badass characters, like Alucard from Hellsing, or Shizuo Heiwajima from Durarara, or you might have the slightly sarcastic and maybe a little bit comedic ones, like you have, like Noah just reminded me because I'm an idiot, Kyon from Haruhi Suzumiya, or Tyler from The Irresponsible Captain Tyler. But, when your impression of Crispin Freeman in this show is in the first 3 minutes of the show, where he's yelling, "I got rejected!" and is freaking the fuck out, you know you're in for a very wild ride. Because you do not ever see a spazzy Crispin Freeman. Like energetic and spazzy. Like, oh my god. Like, there's sarcastic, like, Kyon. This is not, like, there's no sarcasm with this character. Like, there is sarcasm that Kyon and Captain Tyler have. But, like, sweet lord, Hideki's an idiot. Hideki is a straight up idiot and is a spaz all the hell. This is very different than what you can typically associate Crispin Freeman as. This is so fucking different. And I'm also very torn on it. Like, I appreciate that this is not the Crispin Freeman that I normally know. I fully appreciate that, because it just for me it shows a different side of his vocal range and just more of his acting chops. But there are also points where it's like, I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I don't know if it's a direction issue.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. There were points where the fact that I'm even saying this is astounding to me. Like, because I love Crispin Freeman. Like, he's amazing. He's an amazing actor, but like, sometimes it can almost borderline going like too hammy or too far. There are points. It never goes like into that range, which thank God it doesn't, because you would have really completely lost me there. But like, there are points where it kind of teeters that fine line. And it was hard for me to really get into that performance too, because of it. Like,
That's solely because it's so different from what you're used to hearing. Like, if this had been the first Crispin role that you'd ever heard before, would you similarly have had a problem getting into it? Do you think?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I honestly think so, because in terms of the vocal tone, Hideki, I think, is similar sounding, at least, to Captain Tyler.
That's true.
So
register-wise, it is.
Register-wise, yes. So I feel like I would be fine with that register going into it, but I think because of the crazy personality at points, and then there were points where the performance during some of the serious moments did seem kind of stiff, which is very weird to say about Crispin Freeman, because Crispin Freeman is fucking fantastic. Like, yeah. I'm just so torn. I'm very torn, because I love Crispin's performances so much, but like, compared to some of the other things I know Crispin for, this is not one of my favorites. I'm not saying it's horrible or the absolute worst thing in the world. Absolutely not. Again, I appreciate the fact that this is very different than what I normally associate Crispin Freeman as. Mm-hmm. But I think this just turns into an issue I have overall with the dub itself, really, is that I think it's just very rough a good portion of the way through, and it doesn't have a full consistency compared to a performance like Tony Oliver's or like Mona Marshall's. Crispin's isn't as bad of a consistency problem as other actors, but it's not like full-fledged consistency throughout either, I think.
That being said,
Yeah.
Lilac, you probably haven't seen like many harem anime that were coming out around that same time period, have you? Like, have you seen Tenchi Muyo or Love Hina? Okay, because that's kind of the archetype that the show itself was kind of playing off of. So to give a similar type of character, a similar, essentially a harem protagonist, a different kind of voice, because those kind of characters are like shrill, not whiny, I wouldn't say, but like, I mean, you know the archetype, you know, the spineless doofus who gets the hot girls going after him. We've seen it in a billion other shows. We've seen it in To Love Ru. We've seen it in My Bride as a Mermaid. That's not the kind of character that Hideki is in this show, by intention. Because one, he doesn't get a harem. And no, 3 computers does not count as a harem. Stop thinking that.
They kind of got hitched off screen, a lot of them.
That you could call that a bait and switch, because it was setting it up with your expectations that, oh, so these are the 3 girls he's going to bang. There's even supposed to be more. There was supposed to be like a childhood best friend trope was supposed to be sprinkled in there too, but that just never got written in.
I'm kind of glad she did it, because they almost never win.
I'm trying to think of a time when they did win.
I know a show where they do, but I want you to watch it for yourself. Anyways, continue.
Final Fantasy.
Can you tell me what it is?
Final Fantasy. You know what, Hardy? Yes. Yes.
All right, I'll get right on that anime. Where's it streaming?
Your PlayStation 4, fucker.
My what now? Okay, I'm gonna take the mic, and I'll make this very brief, because I think we've beaten this topic in very heavily. There is a lot of people out there. There are people who go through this same phase, this post-high school, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, I don't have very many life skills, the big world is a new place to me, but I am willing to endure the difficulties, I'm willing to learn, and if I stumble upon the way, then that is just part of the experience, which is exactly what Hideki strikes me as. He's not a self-entitled man-baby who just falls into the breasts of all the women around him. He's a guy... yes, and in a completely non-condescending kind of way. Like, just because he doesn't get with a human girl by the end, we're not mocking him for that. That's not the kind of character. He does not deserve our mockery. What he does deserve is to kind of exactly what Crispin gives him. He gives him that self-aware that he's an idiot, very humble, but incredibly a good friend. And probably the best scene that illustrates that is the scene where he is the teachers come over. Takako is spending the night, and she confronts him, do you think it's wrong to fall in love with another person if you're already with another person? And he says, sleepily, which, you know, he wasn't even thinking about this, no, those are your emotions. You can't control your emotions. It's best to be honest with yourself. And Crispin sells those much better than even, I think, the Japanese. Because the Japanese was much gruffer, even lower than Crispin's performance. And played the angrier moments a lot better. Like when Hideki gets upset, those are believable in the Japanese. I don't buy Crispin as upset. Even in scenes where he's like knocking people over and getting very frazzled, I don't buy him as mad. I just buy him as concerned. And that's why I like Crispin's performance a lot. I had a roommate who did not like the dub at all, but even she was kind of on board with Crispin's performance of this character. Less so on Michelle's performance of Chi. And everything you guys said about it, I basically feel the same way on it. It's kind of up in the air about if it's good or not. It just kind of depends on your stomaching for sentimental material, which her performance is incredibly that. The childlike element of it, yes, is problematic in the idea that someone with a infantile personality should be hooking up with essentially an almost 20-year-old person. But putting that aside, her dynamicism in being, in saying that you can love someone for who they are without needing the physical attachment to it, without needing the sex, as they call it, is refreshing, because I don't see very many shows that are like that. It's almost Christian abstinence in a way, but not in the kind of way that makes you lurch.
That is a strange connection if I ever heard one. But I mean, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, I saw in a forum post once someone asked, "Do you read a maintain your virginity until marriage dynamicism in Chobits?" Which I had never really heard it that way. But yeah, when you read it out like that, it kind of feels that way. And if you don't have the sweet voice of Michelle Ruff to play up Chi's personality, then it kind of comes off as a little less believable. But with that, I think we've covered all of the characters, and with that, we are ready to wrap up our thoughts on this. And they were deep thoughts indeed. I want to give Hardy the floor first, because as a person who also saw the show, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you listed this in like your top 20 anime in a stream that we did a while ago.
Yeah, it was over
correct?
10 years ago. I'm not sure it would still be in the top 20. It probably will be, because I've watched a lot of other shows that I've enjoyed since then. And I
Has it really been over like almost 10 years ago at this point?
Desu Des for life,
us?
yeah.
Oh my
Desu
god.
Des for life.
Oh my god, I feel old. Shit. Anyway, sorry.
So
Manime Monday!
yeah, it'll make your balls bigger.
Tiger chopping.
Helicopter body
absolutely.
slamming. And lots of
Sharks.
muscle-bound shirtless men.
I still have the copy of the promo you sent to me a while ago on my computer for shits and giggles. I'm telling you right now.
Anyways,
Wait, I need to show it to Andrew at some point. Okay, never mind.
all right.
Later.
Later, not
So-
now. Sorry.
Watching this, I forgot just how pervy this show was.
It's so perfect.
It is a fan service anime, and people forget that. They see the cute little robot girl on the front, and they completely forget all the copious amounts of panty shots and cleavage shots. And it's not as bad as something like Ikitosen or High School DxD, not nearly.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty perverted anime, and it goes into uncomfortable situations such as implied incest with the two sisters, and falling in love with her father figure, which is ew, and also uncomfortable plots like trying to seduce your teacher, or a man
Your
who
bakery
is
manager.
a bakery manager who is already a widower, falling in love with a high school student. It does go into some rather cringy moments, especially the peep show. The peep show was something else.
Oh,
Clamp got
I
a
was
clamp.
so uncomfortable.
That was very uncomfortable.
I was so uncomfortable.
Oh,
with that. Jesus Christ.
Fun fact, the guy who runs that peep show, one other role
Fuck
that
you!
he played in an English dub
Fuck
before.
you!
Mullen Shetland from Last
Oh.
Exile. The nice guy character.
Oh, that was...
It's been a hot minute since I watched Last Exile. I should throw
That
that onto my pile of stuff I'm watching.
was not
Yeah.
the character I thought you were gonna go for.
But anyways, no, Andrew's mad because it's Kakashi.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Shit.
But no, I have a story to go along with this. Just seeing as how Chobits is so surprisingly pervy. I have a story. Coming home from a fest a few years ago, I decided to stop in Little Rock for the night. And while I was there, I decided to take a look downtown, see if there were any places of interest. And I found out that there is a video rental store called RAO Video in downtown Little Rock.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. And so I went to check it out. I wanted to rent Bloodsport. They had it, but they wouldn't let me rent it because you have to be an Arkansas resident in order to rent something. So that kind of shut things down. And in general, they have a decent selection, but their so-called anime selection is more along the lines of the westernized stuff, like the Justice League movies, and maybe a copy of the Animatrix or something like that.
Lovely.
But here's where the story takes a bit of a turn, because being that I am a man, I noticed that they had an adult section.
Oh dear.
I remember this now. Okay.
Okay.
Yep, I remember this story.
And so, just to be curious. I'm expecting something like a small little thing with maybe a few rows of DVDs. No, they have it under a security lock where you have to input a password before it unlocks the door. And so I'm thinking this is just a small thing. I go up there. It leads upstairs to the second story of the building, and it is a straight-up porn shop. I think they have more porn DVDs upstairs than they do regular DVDs downstairs. I'm dead serious in that.
I believe.
I mean, and it's not your kiddie stuff. It is the real raw deal stuff.
The raw dog, if you will.
Raw dog. And I'm like looking at this. I'm like, I don't think some of this is legal. But anyways, it turns out they do have a very small hentai section. And so I'm going to look at it, and I'm looking over the titles that they do have. And what do I find but the original Pioneer Geneon DVD singles of Chobits?
Wow.
In the hentai section. And this tells me that the person who runs the store has never watched an anime in their life, and I can't help but thinking that some poor, horny bastard rinsed this out, expecting a night of debauchery, and puts this DVD in as like, what the hell am I watching?
Let me be with you.
Yeah.
Which,
so final thoughts on my show aside, I don't know if it's still in my top 20. It's still a show that I really enjoy. And it is not hentai, but I will never forget the time I found Chobits at the adult section of a local video store.
The day you told me that story and that you found Chobits, it was the funniest shit in the world to me. It was like, oh my god, really?
Alright.
It was great.
But yeah, that's it for
Oh
me.
man.
Okay.
Thank you, Hardy. That made my birthday. Thank you.
Like your birthday. Your birthday's in like a few months, dude.
He backordered.
That made
he
the
backordered.
podcast birthday.
He backordered. Backordered?
Well, okay.
It's pre-ordered, Andrew. His birthday's in August.
Andrew, tell us, is this porn or is this not porn?
God damn it.
It is written by lady fan surface, which the difference to that earlier is like written by dude fan surface. I almost feel like they kind of want to force you to remember how horny it is. I think stuff written by ladies, it's like they're kind of okay with just letting things be horny, and like they trust you to remember that it's horny. They're not going to shove all of the things in your face aggressively. They're not going to shove a cooter. They're not going to shove the boobs. It's just like, oh, it's horny, and it knows it's horny. It knows the ladies. What?
So so you're saying it's the exact opposite of your Twitter account?
Okay.
No. Correction. It's his not safe for work Twitter account. He has a separate one, that's why.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
I have gotten so much better at keeping that stuff off of my main lately. Everybody jokingly calls me horny on main. I have done a damn good job separating that. None of you appreciate it.
There's the occasional one that slips through.
None of you appreciate it.
And then there's the occasional one that slips through not by your own design, but it just happens.
But no, I'm going to actually go through your Twitter while you're talking, and I'm going to see like, okay, how actually classy
thank
is
you.
this?
Anyways, so going through the show, I'll say this. This was a strange one to really revisit. The dub's a little bit dated in some regards. It's kind of interesting to hear some performances I kind of didn't really expect from certain actors. Some I thought were a little stiff at times. This is a weird show. It took a while for it really to work for me, but I kind of realized it's a weird show. It's not one I think I loved. It's not one I'm rushing to watch again, but I enjoyed my time with it. It's also weirdly relaxing to me. Like, I was watching this in bed, and I realized the bed felt a lot comfier watching it. It was kind of relaxing in a strange way. Like, It also is helped by the show's OST, which is basically a mix of elevator waiting music and like jazz club. It's so strange. It's a weirdly relaxing show for me to watch, but it's also very strange and probably my first real exposure to Clamp's weirdness. Boy, is it weird. Yes,
Really?
I think this is my first real proper Clamp show.
Huh, I didn't know
Okay.
that, actually.
I mean, considering the fact that you called it Triple X Holic, that's
Oh my
kind of
God.
obvious.
That makes
But no,
sense.
it's an odd show, but I think I enjoyed my time. I think overall I enjoyed my time with it, but I feel like my opinion of the show is it's kind of a 50-50 split of I liked it / I didn't like it. But I enjoyed my time with it, and I especially enjoyed my time discussing it tonight.
And I appreciate you being honest about it. Same with you, Lilac. Please be honest. Although, try to keep it condensed, please.
I'll try very, very hard. So, my thoughts about this show aside, because this show has me very confused. And it was very hard for me to really invest myself into this show, and I think that might be why my viewing experience suffered from it, because I wasn't fully invested into the show. But that aside, the dub is, I'm gonna agree with Andrew, it's 50-50 to me. There is quite a few stilted, stiff performances, but it does hit exactly where it needs to at the right moment, which I appreciate. It has different performances than what I normally would expect from individuals. Hello, Crispin Freeman. But I think I don't want to call this dub a product of its time. I really don't want to, because it kind of is, but it also isn't. And I don't want to call it that. And Chobits is a show that I'm not gonna immediately, like, instantly jump up and want to watch again. I won't lie. But I see the fun qualities in it. I do think it has its moments where it's very cute and adorable, and it really does hit hard where it needs to hit hard. For me, at the end of the day, I just didn't end up invested in the show. But the dub is 50-50. It has fun performances, it has not so fun performances. Your mileage is gonna vary, basically, and while some people will love it and enjoy it, I'm one of those people that I don't like saying it. I hate being the voice of dissent. I really do. I hate it. I hate being the voice of dissent. This show, I think, just was not my cup of tea.
Are you saying it was not the one for you?
It was not the one for me. It was not the one for me. I get why people enjoy it, and I understand, Noah, that you love this show to bits and you have a nostalgic feel to it. It's just
I love it to Chobits.
I know you do. You love it so much. Such Chobits. At the end of the day, it just was not a show for me, I think, is the main problem. Okay. But the dub, your mileage is gonna vary. Your mileage is gonna vary. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like parts of it. You're gonna dislike parts of it. It's a 50-50 shot, whether you will absolutely love it or just be okay. For me, it's okay.
Okay. And I don't think you should hate being the dissenter, because if you were to try to sugarcoat it, then, well, that wouldn't be honest. That wouldn't be believable to us.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I appreciate your honesty.
Like, I will admit when I absolutely hate shows. We've been in those situations.
We are not going to sit there and make you eat this cake, and this lemon custard cake, and pretend that it's the greatest thing ever.
No,
You're
yeah.
allowed to say that lemon meringue pie sucks, which is true.
Hey,
It
what?
is true.
Wait, what?
Lemon
It's okay to
meringue
admit
pie
that-
does suck, so you're not wrong.
Yes, so.
Hardy's gonna argue with us in like 5 seconds.
No,
though.
he can't. No, it's a scientific fact. Lemon meringue pie is just the weakest, worst of all of the pies
You
out there.
take
I
that
would take
back.
any.
Oh
I
no.
would take and coconut cream pie, perfectly acceptable. Red velvet cake, I'm learning to like it a little bit more. Even key lime pie, which is just a few degrees away
Where
from
the
lemon meringue. I
fuck
would
did
still
this
take that.
aggressive baking discourse come in?
Look here. The best pie is blueberry pie, but only because my family has a really fun recipe for it. So, yeah.
And that is great. And I'm sure that no one would disagree that lemon meringue pie is just the weakest of them all.
No, shut the fuck up.
Considering how Hardy is reacting to this, I think he would very much
I think he has some
disagree.
words for you.
You and I are going to talk
I know
next
he's
time we see
formulating.
each other.
Oh no. Are we
You could try to suplex me, man.
I was
but
about to say, are we gonna see another suplex?
We are,
Is
of
that
course,
what's
we're
gonna
going to
happen?
get another suplex.
No, you're gonna give him a full Nelson next time.
No.
That's all right.
No. This is how it's gonna go. Noah's gonna get
Oh,
a
dear.
full Nelson. Meanwhile, after that, he's going to immediately grab Andrew, suplex him on top of Noah, who's recovering from
Oh,
a
heck
full
no.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Heck no. I am taking
And
I
I
am
will be
taking
there
Hardy
to take
Titty
video
Twister
of this.
Town, and you are going to endure.
Okay, this is the weirdest dojin we have created for ourselves.
we. This is exactly how I planned for this episode to end.
Okay.
Clearly.
Oh yes, keep going,
Please
please.
keep-
Let's keep going.
But in actually wrapping this up, it is true that the show holds a very dear place in just being willing to tackle topics that I don't see addressed in very much other medium. Like other science fiction has talked about topics like human robot / human computer relationships before. Like even not long after this anime came out, there was I believe it was a Walking Phoenix movie called Her that was based on her or she.
You're right.
Yeah, it was essentially the same concept of substituting human interactions with those of a mechanical device. And that device didn't even have a face or a body, it was just a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So having it covered in this anime, which kind of lures you in with the promise of fan service, or porn in some cases, and actually kind of sideswipes you into making you think about where we're going with technology, technological dependency, the degradation of society, of conventional relationships, of women being mistreated. All of those topics are covered in a way that is comfortable and really more rewarding than I expected to get out of it. And I'd like to give a big thank you to my roommate, or my past housemate, this was from back in college, Kamani, because Kamani was actually the one who gave me the individual DVDs that I have. I have the original Pioneer Genion releases, all 7 of them. She was not able to take with them when she went off to work after college. So thank you very much, Kamani, for that.
Aww.
And those were a big help in putting this episode together. And with that being said, I've got no more to say on this. Thank you guys. We got to talk about Chobits. I am so happy.
Who the fuck are we, and what do we do, and where do people find us, and how do you watch Chobits?
That is an excellent question.
I have so many questions.
If you would like to watch Chobits, you can go back in time and buy the original Genion
God.
DVDs for $20 a pop. Or you could be smart and do what Lilac did and buy the Blu-ray release that Funimation put out recently.
Mm-hmm.
They reacquired the show. I believe that the re-release also includes the recap episodes and the Chobits OVA.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Recap episodes, yeah, I didn't quite check to see
It
if
does.
the Chobits
It does.
was on there. Okay. Oh, you probably own the
It-
same
it's-
one as I do. Mine's the Blu-ray Anime Classics.
I just
version.
have the Anime Classics on DVD version. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
They're probably
Yeah.
identical. So
Yeah, sounds like it.
that's interesting. So yeah, so Hardy had the DVD, Lilac had the Blu-ray, I had the originals, and Andrew, you watched this on the
I watched it
streaming
on a
site, right?
streaming site. Which streaming site, actually?
Well, I've been told that you can watch Chobits on Funimation's website, where they are streaming everything that they own in subs and dubs available, including Chobits, including a whole ton of content that you can
trial
enjoy
available
if
for
you want to
yourself
just
for the low,
give it a
low
try
price
and
of
find
$8.99
out that you could buy a giant-ass box set of every show you want to watch, or you can watch it all from the convenience of your own living room. Now, if you want to follow us on Dub Talk, you can follow us on Twitter You can follow at Dub Talk Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube here at the Dub Talk Podcast. You can follow us on Podbean, similar name. We also have accounts on Twitch, where I believe Lilac wants to lead us all in a game of Jackbox next time she gets.
Hopefully.
Probably. Are there any other special accounts that we should plug on here?
We also have an Instagram and a Tumblr, but Tumblr is dead for one, and Instagram hasn't been updated in a hot minute. So mostly your best bet is
we like saying it because we have them.
We have them. But your best bet is definitely either the YouTube channel, the Podbean feed, the Twitter, and then the occasional Twitch. That's your best bet. Yes. But there's another way too, Noah. Explain to the good people.
There is, additionally, we have our very own Patreon, where for just a couple of dollars a month, you can help support us in putting together special episodes like this that help branch off from just covering the simuldubs and really getting into the history of anime dubbing. And we want to give a huge shout out to those lovely individuals who help support us on Patreon. We have our $5 patrons. Please, everyone give a big thank you to Miraculous Corazon, Michelle Travis, B. Morris, Crimson Echidna, and Nico Robin, but with Yowie hands. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Additionally, we would like to give an even bigger shout out to our $10 patrons. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a Chobits round of applause to J2, aka Jared, Julia W., Jacob Wilson, Carly Lesticow, and Marissa Lenti. Every one of you are amazing.
Oh,
round of applause. Let's wrap this all up here. Hardy, tell us where you are and what you do.
I am a forum moderator over at the Funimation forums and Discord. I also you can find me on Twitter at Spaceman Hardy. I basically have been doing nothing but retweeting Final Fantasy VII fan art. It's kind of my thing, my life now. So,
hey, Hardy.
Not just any Final Fantasy fan art.
Oh yeah,
Hey, Hardy.
Yeah.
Tifa.
Lots of Tifa.
Hardy, when are you gonna post more goat pictures again? I miss.
I will post a goat picture for you right this instant.
Yay!
Heck yeah, you will.
Aww.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway,
Donkey pants.
Donkey pants. Hashtag donkey pants.
While he's doing that, Andrew, what are you up to these days?
My name is Andrew, aka Classy Spartan. You can find me over on Twitter at MangaMan9000. I am also a forum moderator and Discord moderator for Funimation as well. I'm also a co-host on Surreal Resolutions Podcast O&A anime podcast alongside fellow Dub Talk co-host Jet. As well as I spend some time being the goofy goober boyfriend of one Lilac anime review.
Hi. Is that the segue where I'm next? Apparently
yes, it is.
Thanks, babe. So, my name is Stephanie. Some people on the internet call me Lilac, especially if you're, since we talked about it, the good old Desu Des Brigade days. You can follow me on Twitter at Lilac Anime Review, with review being spelled R-E-V-U-E. I also have a blog that is in desperate need of being updated, lifeandtimesotaku.wordpress.com. And as what I have been doing for these recordings for the past, month, going on 2 months now, please stay safe. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and wash your fucking hands, you filthy heathens.
Mm-hmm.
This is my new thing now, is reminding you, please stay safe, please be good to one another, and wash your fucking hands.
Listen to the chorus of Another One Bites the Dust when you wash your hands.
Or you could sing Toto's Africa, that works
No,
too.
also the chorus from Cruel Angel's Thesis.
Does that work? Oh, that's amazing. Oh my god, that does work. Holy shit.
Anyway, yes, please stay healthy, be good to one another, wash your hands, I'm done.
And my name is NoahClue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoahClue, where I'm currently in the middle of posting one video for every like from my animation collection, which I should probably get on in the morning because it's really fun to crack open all the home videos you have and realize, holy shit, I own a lot of cartoons. I should really watch some of these someday.
How many likes are you at for that? I'm considering doing something similar. But how many likes do you at for that right now?
It's only been a day, but I've racked up 30 likes so far, and I've only
Jesus.
posted 10 posts.
You should get on
so
that.
I need to. I will update in the morning.
Lord, all right.
Yes. So that's our episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much for joining in on this. Let's go forth in love and peace. Love, peace, and robots.
Cheese.
I'm just gonna end this by saying, "Let Me Be With You" might be one of like the coolest, greatest like anime OPs I've heard in a while.
Okay, that OP is cute.
It's so cute. It's adorable. That song is catchy. It's charming. Oh my god, it's so simple, but I love it. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, and I love it.
Hey, Andrew. Let me pee on you.
Get the fuck out of here, R. Kelly. We're all having
And
a
the
good
movie's
time.
done.
We're having a good time.
There's the porn parody. Aloha and otaku on, my
Fall in
friends.
love with-
Get that
Everybody.
go.
Fall in love with us again next week.
Yay!
Good night, everybody.
All right, 1 second, guys. I have to go. I'm sorry. I have to put Leo to sleep. He's starting to cry. I will be back in 1 minute. Okay.
Okay.
We'll trim this part out.
I like how that was instantly your guys' instinct is to go into that. That's great.
I think my favorite thing is just the random sumomos they would add into those as often as they could.
And the Kotoko's when she showed up. too.
Kotoko's sometimes, yeah.
Mostly Sumomo. And then I think only at least twice the cow. At least
No, the
twice.
cow would show up. The cow would always show up, usually in the beginning. Eye catch.
I think I saw it at the end sometimes.
I
yeah.
saw it at the end twice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Obviously the end of the first episode because it was the first episode, but I saw it a second time further down the line. So some of those eye catches I didn't pay attention and would just skip, honestly. So
It's
Oh
been
my
very,
God.
it's been a very fun day watching all the Inuyasha fans lose their shit today.
oh yeah.
Steph, do you know why?
I already saw.
Okay.
I know why. I only know in passing though. So
Okay. Hardy, by all means, if this is starting to run long, don't be afraid to tell us. Okay.
Okay.
Noah, you missed it. The second that you went to go put Leo down to sleep, both of the boys went ba 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 da 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 da. They legit went and did that, and in my headphones, basically in sync with each other.
Beautiful.
was
So I'm
pretty
like,
funny.
oh god.
Okay, that's going in the episode then.
Okay.
Oh my god.
All right.
We can put that at the very end.
That's a good idea, actually.
That's fun. That's a
Thank
fun
you.
idea. Anyway.
Right. Tag in.
And